I'll bring it in. Welcome, everybody. It is time for the second qualifiers of the Element Trios Cash Cup, the first one of 2021. I'm Man of Class. I'm here with Timmy tonight, and we're going to have a wonderful qualifier, I hope. This is one of the stacked ones that we were talking about last week.
Oh, yeah, I'm very excited. I can feel it. The magic is in the air, Man of Class, and there are some definitely some big players and some squads coming through. I'm excited to see who's going to come through and pop off in this particular qualifier. Like you said, it's going to be a pretty heated match, and definitely got to give a lot of respect to UT, T-Fal, Kamsky, Elpadog coming through and just consistently, showing up in every single competitive event and really making a name for themselves. So we got some other names that are really popping out for me, but I'm excited to see who maybe you have an eye on for this particular qualifier.
Look, Untiered is obviously the one that everyone's looking out to. We're expecting them to do well to potentially just win it all. But there's a lot of names in here that you will definitely have seen around if you follow the competitive scene a little bit. Another team that's in there right now is Flying Dark B. So the Dark Breakers, Arnando B, and Flying Pie. Not a squad that we've really seen perform together before, but the Dark Breakers always shows up. So let's see what they can bring as a threesome. A big one that comes out is Pepega Dragon, Pog Cannon, Joshua Cozy, and Gigabytes. Some last minute swaps and additions, but with that lineup, you gotta be scared of your other teams.
Oh yeah, a lot of talent in here, and we got to remember that this is going to be a little bit of a different format than we're used to. We're going to have 6 games, 6 rounds this time, 3 on NA, 3 on EU. We'll be swapping over halfway through, but we're going to be taking the first of the top 4 rounds. So if you do slip up a little bit, you drop it, maybe just not perform to your utmost ability in a couple of rounds, you'll be able to shave that off and use your top 4. But we'll see who's going to be able to come through, because every single round is going to be an important round to kind of come through and show up with your squad, because there's a lot of competition in here. And I'm particularly excited to see the Electric Tacos LMAO come through. Bastion, Electric Biscuit, and Tacos, all great players, all great creators in the community, and just going to be a lot of fun to see what they come through. And I heard they were running some meme builds last night. We'll see if that makes an appearance in these lobbies, but definitely going to be something interesting to see how the resident Windy Boy Tacos comes through and hops around in these lobbies and see if it can be effective for him and his squad.
Yeah, Tacos, the parkour master, coming through. I also always want to give a shout out to Delicious Wetfish, Voosh, and Dekio Cookies. Those are some of the console players that we always have coming around, and they have been performing lately in scrims and outside of that in some competitive events as well. So they could also take some scores from people. And top 5 moves on to the finals, and I think that might actually be a contested one. I don't think everyone that might have your eye on might actually qualify, and that makes it exciting, because that means there's actually something to play for, and we don't have to just fill in these 5 are going to qualify, the rest is fine. So that makes it easier for us. And of course, if you want to keep up to date with the scores, with which following the team that you love, seeing how well they're doing, just type exclamation mark scores in the Discord of the Element organization. You could get there by going to the Discord if you're not in it just yet, and in any channel that you can have access to, and type in exclamation mark scores, and you'll just get told what the up-to-date scores are.
Yeah, and being part of the Element Discord has always been a great way to not only get involved with the competitive scene in Spellbreak, but also to get to know other players, learn some new tricks, and also just connect with the community. A great way to be there. And I promise you, if you're in there, you'll be able to keep up with all the future events of Element and all the fun stuff that we have planned for the year of 2021, because there's a lot of them. But before we move on, speaking of some of the squads, I think that I can't move on without mentioning, I think, a little bit of a sneaky sleeper squad in the mix. I'm looking at Team PvE. I think it was a recent addition to the roster here, and I'm seeing some names on there that's been around in the community for a long time. We got Surpassive, we got Twilight Fangirl, we got Coach PK, all 3 great players in their own right. Very interested to see how they come together and work as a squad. But that's going to be yet to be seen, as in we've seen in last qualifiers. For me personally, I've never really had a chance to watch trios and casts from this perspective, and it just shows a level of teamwork and composition that I didn't really realize existed in Spellbreak. I mean, playing solos, I always get to see more and more depth emerge, but seeing these players come through and define these roles, step up and fulfill those roles, and see it all come together, it's all like a beautiful work of art. And I just can't wait to see what happens in these lobbies whenever we see teams like UT, teams like Flying Dark Breakers, Pepega Dragon Pocket, and like you said, players that know how to work together well and come through and commit and make it happen. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it should be. That's exactly what we're here for. Some awesome gameplay between teams, and talking about that team play element, that's totally my jam. That's exactly what I love to see. I love to see teams not being like, because the individual players is like you said, right? There's a lot of depth in it, a lot of mechanical skill, a lot of realization of what you do. But if you add on to that, that you have a more opponents to fight against, but also b you need to talk about what you're doing all the time. You can't just say, oh, we're all just playing our own thing. No, you have to work together. Otherwise, you're going to get picked off one by one because the other team does actually focus their targets, does actually rotate with the way to do. They actually play in their respective roles. Of course, with the current items and runes and talents and classes in the game, there are roles that are sort of being defined, but there could be more done. And in the future, if Proletariat is so nice as to add more of those supportive elements, specifically for squad modes or in general, we could see just the rise of even more of that. And we're going to drop straight onto the Sig squad, Kyojin, AMV, and Loso, just hopping through this Timberend area in the south, making sure they get looted up. And we already see the Conduit, Pyromancer, Stone Shaper combination. Not an uncommon one, but definitely one that other teams will have to watch out for. And the Frost offhands are definitely a lot that I'm going to be expecting tonight, Timmy.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is a great comp. You see, the conduit's going to be a great place for the back line to be able to help poke and engage and clean up, just like we see here. Puts himself in a great position on the edge of that cliff, able to throw down some very, very nice lightning. Also being able to drink up pretty quickly there and reset himself. He has to be a little bit careful and aware. There's players wrapping around to the left. Saw some fireballs come through. Didn't react very quickly, but doesn't have to, because this is what we see in trios. Squad work coming through. His teammates backed him up. Did take care of that pesky intruder coming from the left side. It looks like he does get taken down eventually by a stray fireball. Teammates coming to the front line, though, to back him up, and it looks like one's going to jump back to be that revive to get him back into the game. Looks like SYG will come through and take at least 2 players down from the opposing squad. I'm not sure if they were able to exile the entire 3. I see Zebra and Troll Dentist falling there in the kill feed. It looks like the lightning coming in from behind is going to be really, really dangerous, as It's Lozo tries to find a little bit of cover from the line of sight here. Jumps over the ridge, does keep continuously getting tagged. No armor left, down to less than 20 HP, or about around 20 HP. And it looks like he does finally find a little bit of cover, but no, his teammates left him a lot behind a little bit, and he was left to fend by himself as the other team come through. And it's going to be Take Y'all Cookies, Delicious Wetfish, and Bush. That is that console squad that we were talking about coming through. And it looks like they're really, really putting the pressure on and now trying to make the most of this advantage they got by taking out that squad mate. What's going to happen here? Manic Glass?
I mean, that's a good question, right? No, they're gonna be trying to get their sorceries out and take your cookies, delicious wetfish, and boosh. I've been trading out this entire area. They were already coming in on the other squad on Timbrand. That's how Loso got revived, because this squad came out as sort of third-party rescue them almost. But they take what's theirs. They take down Sig, and Sig will have to try again in another round. And that's already quite a few exiles on their name. Take Your Cookies already got 3, and the other members of their squad probably got another 3 combined. So that's a good start in terms of points. You always talk about those points, and exiles do count a lot, as well as damage. Positioning, as important as it can be, it's not the main scorer in these element events. Looking at what they're running, though, they're trying to go for the Toxicologist. And we talked about this before stream a little bit. Toxicologist has been a ridiculously popular class lately. It provides, of course, a lot of mobility. The changes to the Shadow Step momentum makes it easier to hit that Outbreak shot a lot of the time. And in general, it's just a very good shotgun, but also particularly ranged and mobility class. It really fulfills almost all the goals you want to have out of anything. And Take Your Cookies is going for that legendary Darkbreakers build with the wind in the offhand, running that Stone Shaper class. It's a beautiful one to do with, and because they're running that thirsty, there should be a more supportive element, but they can still dish out a lot of damage with that fervor focused mana build.
Definitely, for sure. And I think that good comms on the toxicologist. I think it's a really great. Currently, it's in a great spot in the community, in the game, and I think it really fulfills a great spot in the trios in the squad. It's always great to have that assassin among the ranks to come in and get that easy big damage to help secure that exile, or make themselves very, very difficult to take out of the game, and really kind of kite or bring those players, those opponents, back into the ranks of your teammates, and let them help you finish it off. But it looks like they're also going to be bringing that, like you said, the Stone Shaper build, kind of popularized by our boy Darkbreakers in the community, throwing up that wind gauntlet. It's going to be a great way to not only use the stone shockwaves from a good range to just poke and back up your opponents from a good, safe distance, but also with that nice tornado sorcery coming out from that wind gauntlet. It's going to allow you to not only, keep those opponents in place if they don't have any way to counteract that CC coming out from that tornado, but it also will help drag your sorcery from your stone gauntlet into that tornado. So a lot of times you'll see those sorceries coming in to play in conjunction and really, really taking opponents by surprise with no way out of that trap. But speaking of no way out of the trap, looking up in the kill feed, we see UT coming through and has consistently made appearances on that kill feed as this lobby dwindles down to 22 players. UT Tfal, UT Campsy coming through with a couple of exiles on the board. It's going to be Lightning and Frost that does come through and secure that exile. We'll be going Wizard, going to be falling to passive, and we're going to jump around to see what's going on over in the Dust Pool area. We got our boys Lavelle, Joshua, and Gigabyte coming through, and that Pega Dragon Paw Cannon. This is one of the squads that we talked about earlier on before the round started. Very, very great players. Joshua, very excited to come through in this qualifiers. I got to say, Joshua, one of those players that's a very, very good, experienced gamer and knows what he's doing, and so good often that when I see him in the lobbies, he's kind of just memeing and having a good time. It's going to be really exciting to see what he can do when he comes through and kind of gets serious and buckles down and kind of works with a good squad to show what he's about. So we'll see what happens as they kind of jump around, looking for some loot, able to get a nice little mana vault pick up here and make their way into the safe zone.
Yeah, safe zone is pretty central, actually. A little bit maybe towards north, but it's nice. It will actually make players converge very early on. UT is in the middle of an engagement right now as we on board with Elpadog, piloting that Stone Shaper class, as we might have been used to. Looking for an escape here, really, because he really got bursted almost. But has plenty of those potions and shards left to heal himself back up to full. Firewall just for a little bit of cover, making sure you don't get ice blasted. Almost dragon fired up there. There was a nice dodge that he saw coming out. T-Fel might have called that one. But they're still in the middle of a big engagement here. They're trying to take this other squad out, but this is not an easy one. So I wonder who this is going to end up being. I think Kamsky actually did get a down on somebody, but T-Fel, there we go. That's Coach PK going down. So this is the PvE squad. And we saw them before in the kill feed a little bit. Some exiles coming out on their part, but now Surpassive going down to the storm. Coach PK already being disrupted, and one more will just do it. Like, one more exile will get that entire squad banished, at least exiled for now. As we go back to Gigabytes, and we're still with this conduit build. I'm liking this conduit build. You already see the Toxic Tornado being built with the storm into it. That's just a combo they can do, as a squad, because they just have the abilities for it. And yeah, I mean, they're just long-range poking. There's not really much going on their side. I do wonder what the like how much they're actually going to be able to combo their sorceries, or whether it's just going to be like a solo combo most of the time. But we'll see that more if we get some more engagement. So far, we've been missing a lot of them. Just that's the nature of it, right? You can't really predict where the fights are going to happen. But it does look like this engagement is actually going to take stage here right now. Going straight over to that. Gigabyte doing a lot of work here with these lightning bolts, getting a lot of distance in, a lot of accuracy. Almost gets bursted here because he got frozen up. Gigabyte might be in a little bit of trouble here. Just one more source of damage will do it. Anything will get him, but no, Gigabyte actually manages to get the disrupt as Bastion gets it back on him. That is the beauty of this game sometimes. Electric Tacos LMAO gets that up. And while Lovell immediately tries to go for that resurrection, it doesn't really come out. So they have to finish this fight before anything else happens. Both Bastion and Gigabyte still on the floor, while meanwhile, Untiered is getting another squad on their radar. Lovell manages to go finally for the resurrect inside of this building, probably a lot safer. And yep, that's a success right there. And now they can still cover this body of Bastion, so it will be a 3v2 engagement from here on out. And it looks like they are just going to be chasing them down the dust pool, making sure that no one is able to get the resurrection up on Bastion. That's the most important part. Keep that advantage. Make sure they don't get away from it. You see Bastion right there, the yellow orb, trying to get away from everything. The Gigabyte's going to go for this thirst one, Timmy.
This is exactly what they need to do right here. If this squad from Electric Tacos LMAO is able to get Bastion back up, that's going to be a huge problem and a lot of value for that squad, and they know exactly that. So Gigabyte, Joshua, and Lavelle are going to come through and definitely make sure they do not allow that to happen. I saw Tacos go down before Bastion, but it looks like that other squad mate was able to come through, and Electric Biscuits was going to be able to bring Tacos back up. But for what it's worth, it looks like Electric Biscuits stayed a little bit too close for comfort as he was trying to lurk around and maybe get Bastion back up, but it just could not happen. Does get punished a little bit for his camaraderie and teamwork, but that's what it's all about. If he knows that if he could have got Bastion back into the game, it could have been a game changer. But it looks like the teamwork coming out from Joshua, Lavelle, and Gigabyte's going to pay off big time as they do bring Gigabyte coming back up from that engagement with Bastion, and then just reposition, get it back into a group, and kind of move together as a squad and look to take any kind of engagements that might be waiting in the safe zone as they get pushed a little bit by the storm. As that all goes down, though, we cannot sleep, we cannot blink, as the kill feed is just littered and dominated by UT over and over. It's every single time there's an engagement, there's at least one UT member mixed in some type of exile, and it looks like the action is finally getting closer and closer as the circle gets closed down in a much more condensed area of skill. And there you're going to see some of that skill popping off as Delicious Wetfish on the PlayStation brings a nice little frost out, gets 2 back-to-back for 79 damage, but you got to be careful. The area getting this small, you're going to have monsters in all directions, and if you're not careful, you will get sandwiched. Jumps down to try to find some safety, to find some green flames instead. That's 20 damage and not enough to survive on the HP bar, as he does go down looking for some sanctuary, but instead finds the next lobby. That's going to be the end of the game for that squad. And Gigabyte, Kamsky, and Boosters making some appearances on the kill feed. It looks like they're going to be able to come through and gobble up some of those kills. And it looks like Delicious Wetfish, our console squad, might be falling here as Take-Yo Cookies and Delicious Wetfish goes down early. Delicious trying to find a little bit of cover there as he tries to jump over top of the wall, but gets met with some lightning, and then the storm to back it up is going to be too much to survive. Joshua jumping in to try to help as Lavelle has already went down. Gigabyte still healthy as the armor and the health is still there, but it looks like they're trying to find some sanctuary. Able to jump back to the cathedral is going to be a great place to get some cover. Looks like Lavelle's going to be able to come back to life into the game. And right now, if they're able to heal and reset with 7 gamers remaining in this lobby, this could be a game changer for this team. It looks like Lavelle does go back down instantly, and now Joshua is met with another toxicologist as the outbreak slaps are detrimental to that survival big time. All the armor gone, and now down to 30 or 40 HP there. Tries to use that shadow step and does so effectively, but has to go back into the storm, but that is the only place where he's safe and sound. Nice patient, able to drop back behind the structure in that column to get a little bit of cover, but does not last for long as the fireball is going to push him out of his safe spot. Gigabyte now getting kind of pinched off by himself and cannot survive as UTT foul comes through to secure that exile. Now Joshua hiding and looking to get back in here. Mana Class, this is wild.
It's wild, and there's still one solo player around, which I think is Das Jeebus from YFK Esports. So not someone we might have expected to still be alive, but they're still there. So it's going to be a 1v3 v1. Now a 1v3, there we go. It's only Stormclaps actually was still left. Finally the last one going down on that one, but still one player alive versus UT. I mean, I want to say there's maybe a chance, but let's be real, that's what's never going to happen. Joshua goes down. That is the end of the game, untiered. Very convincingly takes that first game away. Not unexpected at all, but there was definitely a lot of fighting going on in that one. So we'll see what the eventual scores are going to be for that. Of course, plenty of teams are probably going to write this off as, oh, that was a throwaway game, but we'll see what they're actually going to come out with. Stormclaps, not a name I think I've seen on our scoring list, so that might have just been a random thing that was still in that lobby. And that's kind of fascinating, just to see that sometimes people get into a lobby that are actually good at the game. And of course, when you get into these lobbies of 23 plus, that's not at all impossible. It's just something that cool if it happens.
Oh yeah, you're definitely going to get a really fun experience getting to see Spellbreak played at the top of the top, especially even if you're not in a qualifier or a scrim. If you're a solo player and you're making it to that final round, there's a whole squad left. That's just going to be a nail-biting experience. Period. It's going to push you to your limits. But man, oh man, this is what I like to see. This is why I'm happy to be part of Element and get a chance to see the trios gameplay coming through. Just beautiful playment, backing each other up consistently, being able to have players tag in, take the pressure off whenever other players need to come in and play the medic. And then you also just see that really, really reset ability, the talent of these players to be able to back up, reset, recover, and make their way into the final zone. It just gives us this really, really like stacked circle at the end of the lobby, and that is just what I'm so excited to see. We saw that happen just then. UT able to really, really play it well. You see the experience, the squad work coming through. They've been playing together for a very long time. They know how to deal with those situations, and they do it perfectly and almost without even thinking. All 3 players during the last little engagement, all 3 players of that squad was still alive. There were some squads that made it up toward the last little, fight, but most of them were fragmented. There was one or two people that had been orbed already, one person trying to play the hero, but UT was all there standing side by side on their own feet, and just shows you what top tier squad play looks like, man. Wow, wow, wow. Loved it.
Yeah, it was amazing to see that, honestly. And we're thinking about the current standings as well. We don't really know just yet because the scores are still being entered. So yeah, while the scores are being entered, also don't waste your time. Go into the Element Discord if you're not in there just yet, and type !scores. You'll be able to tell exactly what the scores are of all the teams once they've properly been introduced into the system. We've got a beautiful bot for that. And yeah, it's gonna be an exciting one still. I mean, there's already some scores coming through for us. Of course, we know roughly where everyone ended, so that usually gives you some indication of how it went. But sometimes teams just stay alive for a long time, and then when they finally do get into an engagement, they immediately lose, and then you still don't get that many points. So it's an interesting scoring system as always. But what we've seen so far, we've seen Untiered performing as we kind of expect them to. And I think all the other squads that we were kind of expecting to do something basically came quite close to doing something in terms of victory or getting further in the game. Some did go out a little early, but that's just the nature of the game. That happens if you drop next to another squad. One of you is going to come out alive. That's just how that works. And yeah, they're just going to have more opportunities here. We're still on the North American server, of course, North America East to be specific. And some of the teams might be doing better in Europe than they're doing on NA. But
We'll have
that's
to
also
see
to
if
be
the
seen.
latency comes into play for this EU region, and see if any of these squads really kind of like step up and perform well on that region, and see if the ping is a little bit more forgiving for them. I think in the last qualifier we did have can't remember exactly which team it was, but we did have a squad that had a couple of European players on it that were able to come through and really, really do well on the second half. We'll see if anything happens like it in this particular qualifier, but I can't say that I can ignore the fact that we were looking for the toxicologist to come through. Like I said, it was really, really popping off recently in my lobbies throughout this week, and I've kind of seen an emergence of really, really top skilled toxic players come through and control these games. I don't think we've seen a ton of it until the very end, but at that very final engagement, there was just counter vanishing mist, counter shadow steps. One person would disappear, outbreak slap, the other one would disappear, outbreak slap, and it was just a trade back and forth. Who could get the last little bit of damage? And I'm expecting to see more of that to come through. I'm also hoping to see a little bit more of the CC come through from these squads. I see a lot of conduit players. I see a lot of people running that wind gauntlet on the offhand, and I'm really not seeing a ton of those sorceries being used, or at least making them getting a lot of value of it. And that's really what I would like to see more of. A little bit of CC coming through, and honestly, that lightning gauntlet. When you get to that final circle, if you're a new player, you don't know. But the lightning gauntlet will actually give you, if you're conduit, will actually give you the largest burst damage of any other sorcery. So if you have a conduit player on your squad, he has a sorcery that's huge, offer your team that CC and do some tremendous damage. And I would really like to see that come through a little bit more. But we'll wait and see if that happens.
For sure. And of course, Conduit did get a little bit of a change in the last patch. Not a huge one, just some damage number tweaks. But other than that, it stayed in the same spot that it was before, roughly. Just the other classes started to move a little bit because of their changes. And it's interesting that you talk about the Wind Gauntlet, because we still see it often on the offhand, because it's just such a powerful tool to especially mid to close range, just start throwing those wind cheers in to get the value. But it doesn't really get used that much. You can't really use the sorcery. Doesn't do that much else for you in that situation. It's not a shield of for a lot of things. I mean, it helps with combo a little bit with that CC, but it's still tough to make it work sometimes. And the same with that lightning strike. Only the wind doesn't really get that much stronger. So you really see the power of the wind gauntlet come through when it's run as a Tempest class. There's a lot of the squall damage is ridiculously powerful now that you get it straight away as you jump. The mobility you get from it is really good as well. But you need to have that player that really has mastered that class. And there's a few in this tournament that could actually show us some more of that. Just we haven't really seen it on stream, so we hope that we can catch it in the coming rounds. But that's super exciting for me always.
Oh yeah, for sure. I actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that. For you guys that don't follow Element on YouTube, go follow Element on YouTube as soon as you can. I actually personally love to binge those videos as often as I can. I was actually just rewatching a highlight from our recent casted scrims, and I realized our boy Gigabyte, who is in this qualifier, came through, showed up with that wind gauntlet, and just did some insane plays. I noticed he was running wind on this particular qualifier as well. So we'll see if he's able to come through. And it looks like what's happening with his particular build and the way that he's playing the game right now is a lot of times when you play Spellbreak and you see a lot of players that perform well, you see them using a lot of burst damage, things like outbreak slaps, things like big frost lances, things like huge fireballs. But whenever you see a player using conduit or tempest, they're going to do that much more consistent, almost unavoidable damage from a good range with the lightning gauntlet, and then from a close range with the wind gauntlet. And I think that's what's really going on with Gigabyte. He's playing a build that really optimizes the DPS. I think he's running a lot of fervor, focused mana, maybe even recklessness. I think I'm not sure, but a lot of really damage buffs, modifications to really output that damage so quickly. And I always categorize this kind of damage in Spellbreak it's almost unavoidable. You can just track the opponent as they move. It's not like you just get one shot and then you have to recharge and you have to re-aim. It's you can click and hold it on. And if you have that precision, if you can make that happen, it will be very strong. I think we've seen a clip from Gigabyte in the casted scrims where he was in a building, literally got dropped in on by a toxicologist, and in less than a second was able to out damage that toxicologist, even with the sorcery and the outbreak slaps and everything. And it just shows you how powerful that wind gauntlet is if you can rely on it like Gigabyte does. So we'll see if it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm personally looking for for some of those beautiful frost snipes. Those ice lances can hit very hard from range. But I've seen people describe the lightning gauntlet in a similar way. It's just an ice lance with extra steps because you have to hit more. Like there's more tracking involved. But with the range, you can actually accurately hit things on compared to a lot of other classes. Lightning actually comes quite close to it, so it's almost like that blend between the wind gauntlet and the ice gauntlet, where you have that range, but you can also slap them at close range if your tracking's good. Go the mid range on. It's a very versatile thing. So, yeah, you would almost say it's surprising that not a lot of people use it, at least not in this qualifier that we've seen so far. But that's the thing. I think the balance of the game currently is such that, especially in squads, there is no right answer for the perfect triple combination.
Yeah, and that's what's really exciting. I think we got to give a shout out to Proletariat for at least thinking about balance and giving us a game right now where people are able to step up and try different things and really make them work. I think when we look at Spellbreak and what's popular, it's not a surprise that a lot of burst damage things like frost and long range fireballs or big slaps from the toxicologist. It's fun to see that. It's also high risk, high reward. If you take that shot and you miss, you could be dealt with. You could be exiled. That could be the end of your game. But if you connect, it could be the best feeling in the world, not only for you, but also for the people that are watching. And we know that that's what a lot of people rely on. However, I think that this new play style that we're seeing Gigabyte come through, and you know what? I got to give a shout out to Gigabyte. It's not new for him. He's been playing the game this way for a while, and that's the reason we see him taking it to another level, because he's one of the few that are playing the game that way. And it's a little bit more of a forgiving way to play the game, in my opinion. You can readjust. You're not out of mana completely. You're not big risk reward. But also, is it as fun to watch? I don't know. But if you're in it to win it, maybe it's the way to go. We'll see what happens in this particular lobby as we are dropping in and we see some action already popping up in the kill free as we see AMV coming through with an exile onto Sin Apex. And we got Zebra also coming through with a few exiles, but it looks like SYG will come out on top in this particular engagement. Going to be one of the PlayStation players here that does fall a little bit lower than he wants to, but it looks like the squad's going to be there to back him up, and they're all going to have an easy time of resetting from this first engagement and finding some loot to heal up. But it looks like it's not over yet. I thought that it was going to get a nice little snowball and kind of get all the loot from this first engagement. It looks like they still have to recover as the third party is here, and it looks like they are going to be able to do just that. It looks like maybe it's just one player from an opposing squad came through first, or at least one at a time, as the first player that does show up gets exiled pretty instantly. This looks like maybe a squad mate might be coming through to try to back him up, but definitely not going to be worth it, as it looks like SYG is ready to fight and trying to find some loot to reset here. Nice little engagements to start off, Mana Class.
Yeah, the Scrub Breaker is actually getting quite some value here. Zebra getting those exiles early on. But yeah, it's always fun to see you drop here in the Banehelm Keep. You know, I know a lot of people actually have been able to drop here lately, or at least trying to drop here because of all those quests that we've been getting. But yeah, that's simply seems to be over now. Lozo gets another exile here on DVD extras. You know, making sure that they get the get the value out of this drop here. And it looks like they've won this area. All the loot here is theirs. It's good to see. Already see the legendary Frost Gauntlet here on AMV. Got the Pyro as well. The Flame Gauntlet in the other hand. And just looking for more. You know, get the armor on. Missing a belt. Now he's got a white one. I'm curious to see why they're running the scavenging though. Like that's the one sort of questionable thing almost about this build, because it takes you so long to get an exile. Like you rarely actually get value from that scavenging until I mean you don't get value from it until you get the exiles, and so you rarely get value from it mid-fight. It always only happens after the fight. So while it might help against third parties that attack you straight away after you had a fight because you don't have to heal, it's also a risky thing that you don't get that sustain that you can get mid-fight, or the extra damage that you could potentially get from like a fervor.
Definitely, I would 100% agree. In my opinion, I would think the Scavenger a little bit of a throwaway talent on this. He might get a little bit of value, especially if they can survive to the final circle, because at that point, you might actually be able to pick up some, one squad mate left, and it might be the difference in winning that lobby or not. But I think that the value is only going to come at that point in the game, and it's going to be a very, very niche value that only really happens if he's lucky. So I'm not sure if that was a good pickup or not, but we'll see if maybe they can prove me wrong and come through and get some value out of that particular talent. But we're going to jump around to see some more action going on as there's some going to be some big shots coming out from Lovell on the Pyro class as he tries to connect with the player on the other side of this bridge. Doesn't look like he's able to connect yet, but it looks like the entire squad is now seeing the green light and the gas is being pushed as the aggression comes through. Now going to be able to jump on top of this hill, and it's really great movement. Really, you just see the skill of these players as they not only just push toward their opponent, but always think about how they're moving, making sure they try to keep that high ground advantage, make sure they try to give themselves that perspective where not only they can see their opponent, they can see their opponent before their opponent sees them. Unfortunately, Lovell does lose that a little bit as he drops down to an open field, takes out a frost lance, and just aims for a little bit too long. The patience is important with that particular gauntlet, but if you're not careful, you will get tagged and punished big time. Looks like he's able to recover pretty easily there, jumping up to the top of this wall and throwing down some more frost lance. Not going to be able to connect with either of those. The Gigabyte does take a little bit damage and going to be able to reset now. Got to be careful here. Lovell pushing in pretty strongly. Looks like his teammate is there next to him, and it's going to be Joshua right side by side as they do push up this hill. But Lovell got to be careful. He is a little bit closer than his teammates, and if he gets into this action, he might be left alone if he's a little bit too aggressive. UT in the kill feed, still doing their thing as Elpa Dog makes an appearance, followed up by T-Foul, and right before that, that's also T-Foul. Doing all the stuff that they do and making it look fun. And here we go. We're going to jump all over Kamsky to show exactly what I mean. Man of class.
Takes down Kirksley. I don't think they're in the tournament, but they're still showing up in this lobby, so they must be at least a veteran in the game. Going straight over to that legendary Toxicon, you can already see they've got some knowledge pots picked up, which is beautiful to see. I mean, there's going to be a lot of sorceries coming out there. Most already used on that Toxic Cloud. Only has one left now since he's thrown that one out in the open. But UT always showing up, always knowing exactly what to do in all these situations. So it's, I mean, you would say it's kind of insane, but it's definitely something to watch out for. And Kamsky spot another opponent up with this tower, make sure that they don't have to actually do anything. And you saw that quick flick, quickly just pulls out the ice lens just to make sure maybe you have to shoot at somebody, but didn't end up to be necessary. So just going to skirt the edge of the zone, make sure they can gatekeep anyone that wants to get in there. And there's Kamsky taking at least one shot to see if he can maybe hit somebody. It's extra damage points, it's extra points that you get on the board. I would say why not take the shot? I mean, it's not like you're going to be scared of anybody if you're UT. And with this flame ball providing some shielding and maybe some signal boosting, saying, guys, this is where we are, come and fight us. They're taking position on this tower, making sure that anyone who wants to get into the circle past them, well, will actually have to go past them. Looking out in the open over there. And with all that signal and with all those abilities, they're definitely trying to drag people, draw people to their attention, draw people to them. because they want to maximize that score. They want to maximize those exiles. With only 25 players in the lobby, it's already been halved. So they're already missing out on quite a few in their eyes. They're like, we want more. We want to do more. And they kind of can't because they're kind of waiting to find others.
They'll definitely run into some people as the circle gets smaller and smaller, and I do think that that's a really good. One of the things that I enjoy about these qualifiers and these tournaments that Element does is the way that the score is done. It really promotes this aggressive, this don't camp around, try to make it to the final circle. It's about getting that damage out, get more points. Maybe you want to survive to try to get the victory and get that point, but honestly, the exiles, the damage, that's where it's going to be at, and it really promotes these players to come in and be aggressive and play out and just have some fun, and that's what we see UT coming through. We see G3 come in the last qualifiers and just pretty much just hold the W key during the entire qualifier session, and they really came through and put on a great show and came out on top with a lot of damage, a lot of exiles, and even some victories. So I love to see that playstyle coming out, and UT definitely trying to get some attention as they not only throw up those firewalls to keep themselves safe and kind of signal where they're at, but they're also going to one of the most contested areas that you'll find in these smaller circles. If you ever get a circle that has the towers out here in this field, it's going to be one of the best places that you want to set up shop. It's going to give you a perspective where you get that high ground advantage. You can look down, you can see what's going on around you. If anybody wants to try to come to you and your squad, they're really going to have to, use their resources such as mana, such as rune charges, such as class abilities. And once they get up to you, they're going to be, out of those abilities and really not able to fight. But oh my goodness, Woebegone Wizard is ready to fight, and that's going to be a Frostfest that comes out to the back of LN, going down with a nice little tap on the back of the head. The Woebegone Wizard getting met with a couple of slaps in the face coming from a toxic gauntlet, and that's going to be a lot of outbreak damage as his squad mate also goes down pretty low. But it looks like he got instantly healed up there. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but his armor and health came up very quickly. Able to buy enough time for Woebegone Wizard to be able to reset and not come back into the fight. Finds himself face to face with an opponent that does lose all that armor and down to about half health. A nice little outbreak slap, and Woebegone Wizard putting himself in a great position to back up his teammate here. Not really down in the front where he's surrounded on all sides and really making teammates come back to rescue him, but he's up close enough to where he can deal out damage, put out some pressure, and maybe back up his squad mates a little bit. But no, that's going to be another squad coming in from the side, and that's going to be his teammates going down there as Butter Freestyle falls to Electric Biscuit, and it looks like SYG AMV will also fall to Electric Biscuit. All right, let's see what's going to happen here. The storm is coming in, and it looks like it might be the sanctuary, the cover that Woebegone was looking for, because his opponents are definitely not going to be coming in to put any pressure on this right now. And it looks like he will be able to get his teammates back up into this fight and make his way into this final circle of 21 monsters still in this hollow. Oh man.
And UT now in a kerfuffle here with another team zone keeping them out, and they're doing exactly what they need to. Tfal and Elpadog already taken down one, and there's the last one. Kamsky just putting a bow on it, taking on the Electric Bastion, Electric Talco's LMAO squad, unfortunately, and they were the ones that kind of came in there, the third party, that last fight that we saw. So that means that this the squad that they didn't get in there, was Box Jellyfish, is still going to try and get in there, but they just gatekeep the next ones as well. Cam's taking down Woebegone Wizard, and that means that Buddha Freestyle and the Foster Child are going to be following suit fairly soon. Not going to be easy to get away from those two. That's exactly what you want to see from UT. Just more aggression, more sorceries, everything with accuracy, and what a finish by Tfal with that conduit build. Beautifully done. Another fireball on top of it. Why even stop there? 4 exiles on his name. We know that Tfal, that Elpadog and Kamsky also got a few. They're going to take away maybe an even bigger point total in the last game. They got 656 from those with, I think that was 14 exiles and 3,636 damage. They might be able to break that still. We'll see at the end. Right now, though, we see Gigabyte take down Coach PK, as well as Virginity being taken down by Lovell. There's things going on in this maze area. The maze isn't really in the zone anymore. That's maybe a good thing. There's always way too chaotic fights, but Joshua still's got to be careful to not be attacked on top of his tower, where he thought he could take a bit of a pot, and it turned out to be happening. Now he has to stop his teammate from being exiled. With a lot of damage on this one player that is almost going down. Joshua's mobility is just impressive right now. Knows exactly how to use all the abilities, has the toxic clouds in the hands, as well as some other abilities, and of course still running that scavenging. If he's able to get an exile, his fighting ability will be prolonged for longer and longer. He does not have a lot of time to get these exiles off. This zone is ticking very hard, so even if you get one off, will they get back into safety? That's a big question. Joshua taking one health pot, it's not going to happen. Gigglebite is going to be taken out with Joshua and Lovell. That is UT getting another two exiles and Virginity taking one as a consolation prize. But UT trying to close this game out. Two other squads in the game with them. You see a beautiful Frostlands from Kamsky hitting. This guy just never misses. And another one. Why not? Across the gap. Why would you even stop? Why would you even think that UT is not going to do well in the qualifier? It's never going to happen, at least not in the current state of Spellbreak. And Kamsky just trying to follow it up. Gets in there. Another, just trying to get his styling on him at this stage. I don't want to do anything with toxic damage. I want to hit these frost shots. Another ice lance, another slap, and that's the well, Foosh, delicious wet fish, and take your cookies taken out. As of course the Shays Belays squad. And there is one other team left here. I don't know where they are, but there's the first Frostlands that comes in. Immediately the firewall for the protection. Kamsky is going to try and hit some more beautiful frost shots with all those toxic clouds in the way. But this is Timmy. This one is going to be hot and heavy, I feel like.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly what we should expect whenever we see UT in the lobby. They just do not pump the brakes at all. They're just in there fighting it out. They don't care about their safety. They're all able to stand on their own feet, but they also know how to come through and back each other up whenever they need it, if they really do. But it looks like they're going to be going in and get at least one orb down quickly. That's going to be another slap that comes through, and that's going to be the end of the game as Sir Passive, Coach PK, and Where's My Virginity will fall to the UT boys, taking round two back to back. Man, oh man, I just like, I wanted to comment on the fact that there was a moment there where T-Foul was fighting somebody that he threw out some lightning, and then we instantly see some shockwaves and boulders coming out from Elpadog to back him up. Then I instantly see Kamsky just doing like 90 damage here, 70 damage here, Frostland just popping back and forth, and I'm just like, these players, they're so good on their own, but they also know how to play so well as a squad that, I mean, I don't know what can happen to really overcome the power and the skills and experience that we've seen come through for UT. But I also got to give a big shout out to Joshua coming through. I was waiting to see Gigglebite come into the lobby. I saw a few names go down on the kill feed. I saw Gigglebite start to pop off. Unfortunately, he fell down pretty quick. And there was a moment where we got to see Joshua on that toxicologist really use those shadow step, really keep that tracking on where his opponents was. And I thought we were about to see the hero arise and bring that squad back up. But unfortunately, as the hero tried to bring his teammate back to life, there was three monsters by the name of UT right there on the border of the safe zone and says, no, not today, not in this lobby. But it was a good try. So shout out to that squad for coming through. But man, oh man, UT is rough. Oh man.
Yeah, it's really tough to see how they could ever potentially not lose a tournament at this stage. Not win a tournament, sorry. But I mean, there's still plenty of options here. Maybe some teams still have to warm up. Maybe UT is just a fluke, Dudes be having a really good vibe in their first few games. Maybe they won't do as well in the EU servers. Like, there's a lot of potential for upset here. But at this stage, it does definitely look like most of the teams are just playing for number two. Currently, number two is looking to be Pepega Dragon Paw Cannon, but there's a lot of room to shuffle things around still. Of course, we had a very good placement from Shays Belays there as well. Box Jellyfish was coming out at least a lot better than they were in game one. And yeah, Electric Tacos LMAO still in contention. There's definitely a lot of promise in this lobby still, and in this qualifier. We just have to see where it shakes out after 6 games. And of course, teams can still throw away 2 games, so we might still not have seen the actual scores for certain teams. We might get a lot of other results in later. And again, of course, you want to keep up with the results. You have to do !scores in the Element Discord. That's the only place you can actually get updates, other than maybe hearing us shout some numbers at you every now and then. Because, of course, being casters, we do have the updated score sheets live. No, but scores are updated in the Discord, so definitely join that. And not just for the scores, but also for other things, for scrims, for other events, for just general tips and tricks on the game, to talk to other people who also like Spellbreak and maybe want to tell you all about the lore. There's plenty of things to do in this Discord and in this community, and Element is definitely the way to abuse the best of that.
That's right, and it's growing fast. So tell your friends, get them in here. Make sure you connect with an awesome community. But man, oh man, speaking of awesome community, we see a lot of these players, especially on UT, that's been around in this community for a long time and has really developed a lot of the competitive techniques that we see in the game right now. I remember some of the more advanced techniques I actually learned from the one and only Elpa Dog. Shout out to Elpa Dog. But now is the time for new players to come through and really put their thinking cap on, figure out what is the strategy that's going to allow us to be able to overcome the overwhelming power that we see coming from the top teams here in these qualifiers. Is there anything that we can see that can be countered, that can be kind of worked on to give you a little bit of an edge? And right now, as I look at UT and I see how they're winning, I don't know if there is. A lot of times you'll see a squad or a player, kind of crutching on something, using one particular thing, and you can think, wow, okay, I can counter that if I do this. But I really don't see that happening with UT. A little bit of toxicologist coming through in this lobby, and I don't really see it doing that much, but maybe someone might try to pick up tracking or foresight or something like that to kind of counter then the stealthiness from that class. But right now, UT is really not crutching on anything. So what can these players do? Are there anything that maybe when we switch over to the EU region, is there going to be gauntlets and classes that might perform better in that particular latency for people? Will that be the game changer that allows them to overcome the odds? Right now, I'm scratching my head because I don't know what's going to be able to come through and close the gap in this skill right now. But it's going to be interesting to see what people come up with as we drop on in to this this third round of our qualifiers. This will be our final round on the NAE region. Then we will be having a nice little 10-minute halftime break for you guys to relax and get some info on what's going on in the qualifier and see some fun stuff during the halftime. But let's get in here and see what's happening in this lobby as everybody takes their time to get looted up and ready to fight out, man of class.
Yeah, for sure. And when we get the scores, and you can already see the big lead that they're taking on the UT side. So far, we are playing for second, every other team, but that can still be a super exciting fight to see. As we are on, I don't think that was a team that was actually in the tournament, but it's still lovely to see people be around the lobby, so don't get me wrong. And we go straight over to Zebra, Wonderful, and Troll Dentist. They're actually in here. I don't remember exactly what their team name is. Scrub Breakers, of course it is. And I want to see what these guys can do. Wonderful actually running the Frostborn class. We see the lot on the offhand, but Wonderful actually running it as the main. Zebra on the Toxicologist. And of course, Troll Dentist, who we're piloting on currently, has that Pyromancer selected. Frost in the offhand, though. Fire and ice. You'd think it's a very counterproductive combo, but they can actually cancel each other out quite well and benefit each other. You get some mobility out of the one, you get some longer range flick damage and snipe damage with the ice lance, whereas the fireballs, especially when you run that Pyromancer main, are so good for up close and mid-range damage. It's almost impossible to dodge damage from them, so you almost always hit. And you're not really bound by, for instance, Stone Shaper, that also has a relatively easy hitbox by just firing on the ground. You can fire someone in the air, and those mid-air shots can be devastating too. You see them hit by the best, even on offhand fire gauntlets. But imagine if your fire gauntlet also has that combustion on it, has the conflag on it, and everything else that you get from that Pyromancer class. It's just amazing. As we go over to Copyright, Insomnia, and Shay. Not going to get a lot of value out of this fight. Actually, 2 down already, and that will be the last one going down too. Unfortunately, Insomnia could not do it alone. Stammerox and Copyright taken down with them. And then we get back on the Electric Tacos LMAO squad. They've been doing okay so far. They've definitely not been one of the lower teams. They get decent placements. They get some exiles in there. Of course, that was another 3 for them. But yeah, they still need a little bit to really get up on that scoreboard. They're currently not scoring as one of the highest. They are still looking to get some more points on the board in order to potentially qualify for those finals that are happening next week.
Definitely going to be a good idea to pick up some of these kills early on and scoop up some of those points on that damage and exiles. Going to be a really great area. Also, if they can control this area, there's going to be tons of loot. Going to be able to get nice and stocked up for the final fight. We see a lot of epic gear already on hand for this squad. But as they are looting up, we can't breathe, we can't sleep, we can't even pause for a second before UT shows back up in the kill feed to completely dominate all 5 kills on that kill feed. But I'm really excited to see Bastion, LMAO, Tacos, and Electric Biscuit come through and really show up as a squad. They're all great players on their own in their own right. I think they could all stand toe to toe with pretty much any other player in the game. But it really comes down to squad work in this particular match, in this particular game mode. It's about positioning yourself well, and then also being able to work within that squad and figure out what your role is and how to be able to back your teammates up without being an issue, without being somebody that they have to protect. And hopefully we can see that coming out a little bit more because they are great players. And I'm excited to see that happen. But we're going to see a little bit of alacrity trail coming out from this Frostborn Bastion MAO. Really, really great support ability from that Frostborn class. You don't have tons of ways that you can support your team in this particular game. There are a few talents and stuff, but this alacrity trail is one of my favorite ways to be able to move your squad around very quickly. And not only that, you can also provide them with movement while they're healing. You can drink up shards, you can play a little ice Showdown, and they can use it during combat, and it's going to be very, very strong. You talked about that little bit of a pyromancer with the frost offhand. I got to say, for the fans of My Hero Academia, my anime people out there, I call that the Todoroki build, fire and ice. It doesn't really have the elemental synergies that you would expect from a lot of other combos, but it has what I call battle synergy. It really covers parts of the battlefield that the other one doesn't. It allows you to have a tool for every situation that you find yourself in, and especially if you can hit those Frostlands shots, it's really going to be a game changer. But we'll see if that happens as we make our way into the top 30 players and find UT back at it again, as Kamsky does not miss a single shot. That's going to be 80 damage to the back of Superman. I mean, Troll Dent is flying through the air. Going to be going down pretty quick as UT Foul shows up to make sure to secure that exile right away. Going to be taking that orb out of the game, and now that squad is one gamer short and going to be a little bit of a disadvantage for anybody they go up against. Now jumping back down, looking down the hill here to try to spot these other gamers coming in and really trying to make sure they use the pressure here, as they're definitely going to be a little bit of storm coming in. They're going to be trying to wrap around this structure here and going to be trying to make sure that they stop any opponents from getting a better position and getting an advantage over top of them.
Yeah, it really looks like the RNG right now isn't which loot do you get. It isn't, who do you run in, where does the circle go. Really the RNG right now is do you or do you not run into UT. That's just what it comes down to, because they're just not missing. They're just not getting anything down. Lovell gets a 3K there, right in there. Triple exile for them in the kill feed. It's another squad eliminated, and that's great for them because it actually bumps them up in the scores a little bit. May have been what they needed, and they are still trailing in that second place spot. They might not be close to getting first, but at least they're securing that second spot for them more and more as time goes on with all these exiles and positioning and damage. And that is ultimately what you want. You don't need to win the qualifier. You don't get anything for winning the qualifier. There's no seeding, there's no extra prize pool. It is just so it's just getting into the finals. So you don't need to beat UT right now, as long as you can do it later on and learn from it this time around. As we see Bastion trying to get some toxic slaps onto this other player that they're fighting right now, jumping straight up back to the high ground, doesn't really get caught in the zone, also doesn't really get caught out in general, but that's a lot of conduit damage coming your way, Bastion. Got to be careful about this one because the zone's coming in. You're only 1 HP. You're going to take out. He's not going to live. Nope, that's the Disrupt coming out right there. Taco's also down. Electric Biscuit, the sole survivor, has to try and find a way to potentially bring his teammates back online. But it's not going to happen right now as Electric Biscuit just gets taken out. That's UT that they ran into. And I said it before, that's the RNG you didn't want to get. You didn't want to run into them. They do it regardless. Nice conduit damage coming out from T-Foul, as we expect. Already talked about it before, that it's just one of those super powerful classes if you know how to track properly. You saw it right there on Bastion when we were in his POV. He was just getting bursted down by those lightning bolts. We'll see T-Foul just keep on running it as well. You have the Legendary running with it, the Fire in the offhand. Everything is just working in his favor. Throws out the Firewall for some protection. He does get some poison on it, but they don't care about that. They just want to continue, get on this high ground, get on this mountain, maybe get that mana fault even. they'll be in a great spot to just continue this round, continue dominating. I don't think they've gotten as many exiles as last time. Had 18 exiles in the last round, but they don't really need them. As long as they just get a decent placement, just these 3 games will probably already be enough to secure them the qualification. They probably already have it secured by now.
Oh, definitely. I mean, they could probably slow down and just not worry about it much. But knowing UT, what we're going to see. At this point, there's a lot of people in here trying to figure out how to win this lobby and trying to figure out what strategies are going to work best. But right now, I'm telling you guys, UT is having fun. That's what they're doing. They're going to continue to have fun through this entire qualifier. And that's exactly what you need to have. It's about having strategies. It's about working together with your squad. But if you're not having a good time, you're really kind of, tensing up a little bit and you're not able to do as well. And I think that's a lot of that's coming from experience from UT and a lot of confidence they've been able to build up over the time. And they just really just are walking around the safe zone, going around the perimeter of this area and just finding players by players, giving each other backup when they need to heal up right quick, and then just coming through and committing to these fights and just winning them outright. There's no problem at all. Making sure they're in these good positions, like on top of this mountain before the fight goes on. And it's just really, really smart movement and smart play coming out from both. I mean, all 3 players. It's going to be words of my virginity that falls early, but UT foul does go down to Sir Passive. Lavelle now taking out Das Jibas, and it looks like they're going to be fighting out here on top of the ridge of this mountain here. Going to be jumping around, trying to jostle for position as they do have an eye on this other squad over here, but they're going to be fighting it out and really going to have their back. But actually, they're going to be sandwiched between a rock and a hard place, and one of those, the hard place is going to be named UT. Lavelle and Joshua and Gigabyte now finding themselves all together in a nice little group trying to heal up and get position, but they got to be careful. Gigabyte very, very aware of the situation they find themselves in. Being close to each other is great. You can back each other up, but it also puts you at risk for all 3 of you being dominated by a big AoE splash damage. So you got to be careful of that. Able to get out of the action before anything bad happens. And Lavelle coming through and popping off in this lobby. We see him get 3 exiles earlier. That's 2 more on the kill feed. And it looks like Joshua, Lavelle, and Gigabyte might be coming through to really show up in this lobby and do better than they have in any of the previous rounds. We got to jump over to UT, and they are stealing the action, finding themselves in all the chaos right here, man, in class. What are they going to do? Looks like they found a good position, but can they come out on top here?
I definitely think they would be able to. UT gets another few exiles on top of it. Just going to close out this next engagement. I mean, this immunity of the Vital Stone is nice, but it's just delaying the inevitable, honestly, because they were the only one left alive of their squad. You can see this damage. You see the Toxic Slaps hitting the fireballs, and then just some conduit lightning damage on it. It's just done. Like, their players going down left, right, and center. It's not even UT just doing it. They're kind of just third-partying at this stage. They're not being engaged on, but they keep having people run into them as they run away from other fights, and they can just catch them with open arms, or rather, I should say, open bolts, open fireballs. I don't know. It's insane. 9 players left in this lobby. There's 3 squads, and they're just not stopping at this stage. Another one gets bursted down by some lightning. That's Alpha Dog and T-Foul just doing a lot of work right now with all their abilities. And you see this tracking, this conduit tracking. That armor is already gone, and the players are just trying to run away. Going to be a Thirst Exile here, straight up from T-Foul on. Let's see who that is. Going to be Level going down, and Level was doing very well in this lobby, don't get me wrong, but it's still a good placement, a lot of exiles, but UT is just out of reach at this stage. I don't think anyone's going to be touching them tonight, at least not on the NA server. Might get some of it after the swap, but for now we're going to see them just close out another lobby. It seems like it's going to be a 3rd win in a row, unless you can take down Elpadog right now, who is considerably low. It's going to be a tough ask. Even with a 2v3 you might not win.
Oh yeah, he's got 2 big burly bodyguards up front. I think Upper Dog's gonna be just fine to reset. And you see a really, really nice display of positional awareness. It's not always about the high ground. It's not always about getting to the highest position and finding a little bit of a ridge or line of sight. Sometimes it's about knowing where you can fight and use the structures around you. And you see that happen there right before the circle got a little bit smaller, as UT wasn't really on the high ground, but they used those little structures close to where they were to really, get behind the staircase when they needed cover there from UT-Foul when we saw him get low. And just really, really good positioning. Now UT-Foul jumping back to give a little bit of cover and a little bit of backup to his teammates, Alpha Dog and Kamsky. A nice little lightning strike. And we see that big damage coming out from the conduit. And it looks like some fireballs in midair are going to come through to help him secure that last little exile. And that is just another round going to our boys UT. I mean, what can be done at this point? I think Gigabyte really started doing well again there toward the end, but like I said, it's not only that they're performing well, it's all 3 players. They're almost
Mhm.
never not all three up and there to back each other up. It's just so great to see that positioning, that teamwork. And like I said earlier, it's not just that they're great players on their own. They're there. They know how to back each other up, and that's what's been winning these games on top of the level of skill. Man, oh man, some exciting stuff. We'll see what happens in the next region, but I don't know, man. Class, what's your thoughts? What's going through your mind right now?
Look, like I said before, everyone's kind of just playing for second at this stage. But the problem that we're running into like right now, is that so many exiles and so much damage is taken away by UT that the fights below it don't get as exciting anymore as they should. Like normally you could say, okay, so if you take QT out of the equation, then everyone else still has a close battle for second, third, and fifth, and fourth, and whatever. But that doesn't really happen if 14 or 18 exiles get it taken away in a match by one team, because that just doesn't leave that many points to be distributed amongst the rest of the group. So if that doesn't change, if they keep doing it like this, we might still get a very close finish for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. But it's not as exciting as then when they can actually sort of freely fight it out amongst themselves. So we'll see. Again, we'll see if that changes. It's not a comment. It's like not critique on UT. By all means, they should play as well as they can play, because it's amazing that we can see all those shots and the abilities being hit and the teamwork being displayed. It's just something that happens when you have a team that is that far ahead or that far apart from the rest, because it's a zero sum game. Anything they get is something that other teams do not get in terms of scoring. But yeah, like you said, we're gonna see what's gonna happen on the EU side. Of course, don't forget to type exclamation mark scores in the Element Discord to get an update on the scores that are currently being filled in. We're going to take a quick break, with roughly 10 minutes, just to make sure that we're able to swap service correctly, that everyone's ready for it, everyone gets a little bit of a breather, gets to talk some strategy of how we actually deal with UT, all the teams probably getting together. Guys, we all got to focus them, because otherwise no one's going to win anything. So yeah, they might all drop in the same location and go in like a big army to fight UT, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. For now, though, we'll see you on the other side of the break. Have a good one, and yeah, don't go anywhere.
See you soon.
As we go forward here, we got
Welcome back, everybody. After halftime, back to my region, EU. We're here now. Welcome, Timmy. Welcome to this side of the ocean. Yeah, no, we're gonna have some more games, but of course, before we're gonna get into game 4, 5, and 6, I'm gonna give you a quick update on where everyone is at score wise. With no surprise to anybody, we have Untiered on number 1, but the difference in score, Timmy, it's insane. It's over 1,000 points. Like that's I would say it's almost illegal how good or how much better they are currently than the other teams. But yeah, when we look at the rest of the score line, they're getting a bit closer. Pepega Dragon Pock Cannon is still relatively far ahead of some others, but then it gets closer. Where my passive coach, Shays Belays, and Scrub Breakers are all 100 or around 100 points away from each other. Really not that much. And that means there's some room for shakeups under there, definitely in the coming 3 rounds, especially if you take away into account that some of these rounds might not even count for certain teams. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We talked about a lot. UT's been the topic of the qualifier all night, and we've been talking about, is there anything that anybody can do to kind of close that gap and kind of to come out of that deficit. But at this point, I'm not sure. After over 1,000 between first and second place on that score, it's going to be very, very difficult to do anything about. But I do think I want to mention a shout out to Megaverse that pointed out Butter Freestyle came through with a very interesting build on his Stone Shaper in that last qualifier. It might have been in anticipation on trying to maybe be a little bit more sustainable, a little bit more survivable. We actually seen Vital Stone, Fortitude, and Spell Slinger on Stone Shaper. I don't think I
Yeah.
have ever seen anything like that. But hey, I respect the try, at least putting the effort forward to maybe try to get some kind of different build going in to come out and maybe counter this run. But man, I think it's going to be a more aggressive play style that's going to be the answer here. We'll see what happens if anybody can answer that.
It has to be, right? Like, what else is that really geared towards? Because if you can die once for free, like get disrupted for free once, and if you can also take one free hit because of the fortitude, then there's a lot you can deal with. And because you've got a solution for every situation with multiple class gauntlets as well. Yeah, I mean there is an idea there. I think there's a concept, but it definitely is not fully fleshed out. Like I don't think we can imagine in our heads where they would ever be successful just yet. But I'm happy to be proven or shown the way of the Vital Stone Spellslinger Fortitude build. I would love to see it, honestly.
Oh yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see if anybody comes up with anything. And that's a particular build that I would have never ever expected to see. But you never know. People
Yeah.
really do come with some interesting techniques to come and kind of counter what's going on here. And speaking of which, I'm interested to see if we see. Like I said earlier, EU is going to be a different kind of latency, so maybe some players will pick some classes that are a little bit less accurate, a little bit less punishing if you don't have the perfect precision that you need with that high ping. So I'm interested to see if we get some more, maybe some more Stone Shapers, some more Pyro, some more Toxicologists, more up in your clothes, up in your face, a little bit more forgiving whenever it comes to the aim. And I also think that could possibly be the answer to quell UT's run right now. I think if you were able to drop down with some classes that really perform well early on, and you were able to take that drop, not only would it take them out of the game and kind of open the way for you to take all the damage, all the points, and all the score for yourself, but it really would kind of just get you started off on the right track and really snowball into the point to where you could take the lobby. So I think that it's going to be very, very difficult. And honestly, no, nothing against UT. I kind of would like to see someone come through and actually do it.
Yeah.
It's possible. We'll see.
Look, you've won 3 games in a row. You've gotten enough. You've taken 50% of the pie of everyone away. Just let someone else have some fun. You know, kind of what it's coming down to now. I'm kidding, of course. I really love the way the UT is playing. I think I think the real value that it has, that they're playing so well and they're getting so much value out of other plays, is it makes other teams see not only what they're doing wrong, but how well you can play as a team together. It's such a pedestal to try and climb onto. It's such a mountain for all the others. And yes, it might take some time for the rest of the community to get there, but having that goal, having that precedent, having that ceiling set for you, that really just only gives you more reasons to grind for a lot of players. And like personally, I'm not one of those players. I would be super down by all of this, but like I'm never gonna win that anyways. But I know there's so many players in these lobbies that would love the opportunity to get there and love the grind to keep that going. You can already see Lovo is one of those players that's getting so much value in these lobbies so far. It does eventually, I think, disrupt themselves, unfortunately, but was getting some value there while UT's also popping off. So we'll see how they are going to continue. Of course, they are currently in the second place, so they're looking very good to qualify as well, as Copyright disrupts her passive, and Insomnia has also already been disrupted. So there has been some action going on in multiple places here. As we go straight over to one of those engagements. Nice lightning strike actually gets the shock onto Virginity. And we'll see if they can go on through, as Copyright is also taken out. So these two teams are actually scoring off quite evenly, making sure that no one can get their reses off, no one can get exiles off. They're really trying to make this 2v2 thing happen. But currently, Coach PK and Where's My Virginity are actually taking a win in this fight, at least a dominant position. So Where's My Virginity goes for a little bit of a heal pot. It's a smart move. You don't want to all of a sudden get bursted. You do have a lot of that. But there is Buddha Freestyle with the Fortitude. Just comes in with the Disrupt, with the immediate exile. They don't want to take any prisoners. Just want the loot and want everything to go back to the way it was before. You see it right there. Vital Stone Fortitude and the Spell Slinger has the Frost in the pocket, running the Stone Shaper on the main class, as well as the Fire in the offhand. And of course, in that situation, at close range, not at all surprised they were running the Stone Shaper at that stage, the Stone Gauntlet. I'm curious to see where he's going to go with this, how fast he can swap, what are the macros for this, because that's really the power of Spell Slinger. How good are you at swapping those classes?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see him have all the options here in his toolkit to really swap to over and have an answer for any kind of situation that he finds himself in. Very interesting to see the flight and the Wolf's Blood, but hey, maybe that Wolf's Blood will be exactly what he's looking for to kind of counter some of the close range toxicologist action that we've been seeing coming through. All that fight going on right before Buddha Freestyle came through, but Exile was very interesting, as there was a lot of area to kind of fight and heal and cover and recover but also, as we see Butter Freestyle come through and take out Where's My Virginity, a big opportunity to kind of get split off from your team with no help, and that's exactly what happened as Where's My Virginity goes down, and then Butter Freestyle actually going in with the flight room, being very, very aggressive, staying on that last opponent on that final of that squad there. It was actually able to actually close the gap and exile that opponent, and his teammates were kind of like catching up, playing catch up, and Butter was in the front line there. Could have been very risky, could have been very dangerous, but looks like he was able to come through and connect with some nice fireballs and actually take that exile on hand. And it looks like he's going to be using Wolf's Blood here and make sure that this area is clean and safe and ready and ripe for the picking to get the rest of this loot. Still going to be taking a little bit of storm damage, but at this point it's not going to be a ton of damage. You don't want to waste a lot of your consumable resources here trying to combat this storm damage, but like I said, at this point it's not going to be huge, and the value that you get from lurking and getting those talents upgraded and getting some more consumables as you progress into that safe zone is going to be very, very important. So we'll see what happens for them as they able to loot up and come on in the safe zone. But we're going to find some action here as Taco finds himself face to face with a gamer, but meets him pretty handily with a slap to the face, back to back Taco slap, and then one more as Lavelle just lands right in the face of Tacos, and the shadow step has him invisible and makes him the perfect place, the perfect time to deal out that last little bit of damage as Lavelle does fall. And Googlebite not coming through to take out Tacos for that punishment. And it looks like the action is going on here, Clash.
It definitely is. Tacos is down, but so is Lovell. So both teams missing one player right now. It's 2v2 to finish this one off in the Dust Bowl area. But you can see how long it takes to finish these fights. That's also like a factor sometimes. Like the longer your time to exile is, the longer your time to disrupt is, the harder of a time you're going to have to actually close out the lobby. They are getting some value here. Tacos actually getting third-party Thirst exiled, I feel like. Yeah, that's definitely what happened right there. And both these teams kind of just getting cleaned up. Lovell being picked back up, and that's Joshua. He's getting those a little bit of that loot, a little more scrolls read. That's, I think, the hardest part about these team modes, getting enough scrolls read. Because you can see, only had 3 on that player, maybe 3, also 3 on Zebra. It's so hard to get enough of them because there's only 3 of you, so you can only get so many if the loot table isn't increased for them. We'll see if Zebra can get away from this alive. Doesn't look like it. Has to just try and get... Oh, actually can with the Shadow Steps. Able to get behind here and take the pot. Nope, there is the Shamrock's Fireball disrupt Zebra right there. Meanwhile, Troll Dent is taking a lot of damage as well. It's really up to Wonderful to maybe try and pull this back, who's still got a fairly healthy state of physicality. And with the only one being still standing, Wonderful has to find a way to potentially heal back up the rest of his team. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. Slammerox takes down Troll Dentist in the Thirst Exile, and Zebra cannot be long for this game anymore as well. This lobby is going to be thinning out even more. 24 still currently walking around. That's not going to be for long, as eventually they'll get Wonderful as well, you would think. They're all chasing him. It's yeah, Copyright Insomnia and Slammerox. They're currently at least getting some exiles in this game, which is something that I wouldn't say cannot be said for what they've been doing in the previous games, but they definitely need some good performances here and there to get back up on it. Because a 10th placement and a 14th placement is not really money.
Yeah, we see a lot of use of TP coming out here, and it's seeing actually a lot of value coming out as well as Troll Dennis's teammate Wonderful was able to actually get out of that fight, and I think he was even able to get Lavelle back up, or I'm sorry, his other teammate back up from that orb form. But it looks like we're going to jump over here to some action going down in Halcyon as we find 2 of our console players in the mix and in the action. We're going to get tagged quite a bit as Take Your Cookies does get tagged with a little bit of a boulder coming through. The Delicious Wet Fish falling before we can get an eye on what exactly happened. And it looks like now there's only one teammate remaining. It's going to be the toxicologist Velusta, running for his life, trying to get a little bit of cover, trying to get a little bit of sanctuary. Nice little flash freeze there to protect himself from incoming fireballs. Throws out that nice tornado to try to, soak up any more fireballs coming through. But it looks like as he rotates, he's going to find himself face to face with that UT squad, and that is not where you want to end up if you're trying to retreat and find some place safe to heal up. UT T-Fight coming through, get an exile onto that Delicious Wet Fish as UT Kamsky does take out Take Y'all Cookies right before that. It looks like they're going to be jumping around and finding themselves in some more action as they are able to stay on this high ground and really control this fight. Nice little toxicologist movement from Kamsky as he goes on the Vanishing Mist, goes up into the sky with that backwards shadow step type of movement. It looks like he goes back into his cloud, or at least tries to. This is something you got to be really careful with this Toxicologist cloud. It will really be countered by any like lingering fire, and we see that DF instantly pop out as Kamsky does get tagged. Now going underneath to try to find some cover, but gets kind of pulled in by a toxic NATO and going down even lower. He's going to be lower than 10 HP now, trying to jump down to where Elpadog is. Throws down a little toxic slap, even though he does not have much health. He's there for his squad mate, knows exactly where he's at, and knows that he can throw down a nice little toxic slap that's going to lay down that viscosity puddle and really give you a little bit of area denial, a little bit of damage, and a little bit of information on how much health and armor that opponent has, and where exactly what they're going to do and where they're going to go, depending on that little bit of attack. And now I've been able to get Elpadog back into the game. It looks like UT is back in the mix and ready to throw down Manic Class.
Yeah, wonderful. Finally taken out. That squad will not get any further placement advantage. UT was getting so low there. One dropped. Kamsky on super low HP, and I mean, yeah, Elpadog was still looking okay, but it was not a situation that they could easily get out of, and somehow, some way, they still get away with it. That's UT for you. It's not all just tactics. Sometimes a little bit of luck is involved as well. Elpadog in a bit of a precarious position as well as T-Fel. Kamsky's a bit further away from the fight, still getting ticked by the zone right now though. Has to be careful not to jump into a situation they're not ready for. And UT might actually be losing a lot of HP here right now. Of course they've got pots, of course they've got meds, everyone does. But can they actually get space to use them? Can they not lose too much HP before that? You see Elpadog, low HP, half armor. Kamsky's losing a lot of that as well. And yeah, they're getting the damage out. Yeah, they're getting the exiles. But eventually, you would think their luck with mechs is going to run out. No, they can keep getting exiles, though, because every exile is another loot pile that you can just slurp up if you're UT.
Oh my goodness. And we see a big part of why UT keeps coming through and doing what they do. Not only are they great all together, but Kamsky just playing this super mobile, stealthy class on Toxicologist that has that frost lance on the offhand to really just rely on every single time. And when you have somebody that can stay near you, like Elpadog in the storm there, when he was low, it looked like he was in a very, very difficult situation. But we saw Kamsky there on the sideline popping up with over 70, almost 80 damage worth of frost damage. And that's going to put that opponent down in that kill range where Elpadog can then secure that exile and then get himself out of that place and reset to back Kamsky up after that. Just really great play, and it really just shows you a little bit of a different play style than you see in a lot of Toxicologist. It's really going to allow for Kamsky to get around stealthily, but he doesn't, like, he's not really playing that play style. That's not the game that he's playing. He's the sniper, but he has the shotgun on hand when he needs it in the form of that toxic slap, and he knows how to throw it down if things get difficult. Really nice play from UT, but here we go. We see some other teams fighting it out on the top of the tippity top of these mountains, throwing some fireballs, throwing some boulders back and forth. Not going to be doing a lot of damage with those slow moving projectiles. Would like to see some lightning or some frost coming through, but right now Woebegone Wizard does not have that luxury. Fortitude on hand is going to be good to soak up that initial damage, and Thirsty will get a lot of value for his teammates and for himself as the circle gets a little bit closer, and it's about to get really close with 14 gamers left and a lot of action. Oh my goodness.
The action is definitely flying a lot. Like we talk about very quick early games, then a lot of a lull, and the late game comes around. But it's been relatively even pacing fighting around this. The time to kill is not that low, so it means you also get some longer fights. You do see UT just styling on another squad over here, takes an Insomnia and disrupts straight away. Insomnia's probably gonna get thirsted over here. That's at least the attempt that Elpadog's gonna do, and he's gonna get that off too. Of course he is. And you can see it as well. I mean, we talk about the scroll reading, at least I talked about it earlier. And you can see that actually they're able to heal, to get not even get that many more scrolls. The reason for that most likely is because they're just not taking the time to actually read them. And why would they? They don't even need scrolls. They barely need gear at this stage. And you see these boulder falls just hitting from all the way across. Kamsky actually getting down here. This may be UT being in trouble. The health bars are dropping low. Elpadog might almost go down to the zone here. Definitely falls here. T-Fal, the sole survivor, and that's the first time UT has been taken down. Game 4, EU servers. It's a change in pace to me. They're already out. Joshua, the sole survivor, are his squad now trying to make sure that while they took down UT, that's not going to be the end of their lobby run just now. Slammerok's on his own. A lot of broken squads running around here. And we do see Lovell on the ground as well as Gigabyte. This is Slamerox just trying to survive, trying to get maybe back to some teammates. Oh, the teammates are already out. It's just a solo Slamerox. And one more squad that is indeed all being revived potentially. But it's not going to be easy. Slamerox will eventually just get exiled. There we go. And that is second place secured. First place secured as well by another squad. Beautifully done. And UT not winning a game, Timmy. We did it. We made it happen. No 6-0 for them.
It finally happened. It did indeed. I'm not. I can't say I'm surprised that it came out from the team of Pepe Dragon, and Pod Cannon. Honestly, Gigabyte a great player, and if we just watched the last couple of rounds, or maybe the last 3 rounds, we just saw Lavelle just getting more and more warmed up. The steam started to roll. I could see him transform Super Saiyan going on, and it looks like he just started doing more and more damage throughout that lobby. His squad came through in that particular round and was able to bring him back to life, and that was a huge change for Papega Dragon, and they were able to come through at the end and really put on a good show. I'm not sure how many exiles they managed to get, but they were definitely playing a good game and putting out the damage along the way. So we'll see if it's enough to help close the gap, or at least a little bit, as we get down to the nitty gritty in these final rounds. But some really good play style coming out from everybody, and it finally happened. It finally happened. UT falls. I mean, they still did great, but they didn't take the dub. Let's see what happens going on into this EU region moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. EU, always an exciting place to be. You can already see it's the better region from NA because it's not just the same team winning over and over again. I'm going to keep saying it. EU region, best region in every esport so far. Spellbreak seems to not be an exception to the rule. No, but it's definitely exciting to see these fields getting closer together. I think a lot of teams are now starting to, I wouldn't say almost starting to warm up, but they might start seeing some hope, seeing some potential. And now that the scores are actually starting to matter because every team has at least 2 games that are on their board right now, there's more of a clarity of what they need to do to potentially qualify. How far they need to get into games, how many exiles. Of course, you always go for the max, but having that idea of scoring your head usually changes your mental a lot. It changes a lot if you keep track of the scores. What do we need to get? Do we need to get a certain amount of exiles? Do we need to play slow to just stay alive as long as possible? Do we need to steal as many exiles from others? Do we need to do a lot of damage? Like, what really shows you what your gameplay is like? Our scores, stats make such a big difference in these type of situations. And of course, you can say, I don't care about stats at all. That's fine. But if you do, go to the Element Discord and type !scores. Yes, that's right. I did it again, and the segue was beautiful, Timmy.
Oh. Masterpiece. You guys definitely check out the Discord. I think I went on about it last time over and over, but it is really the place that you want to be if you want to keep up with all the upcoming events for Spellbreak, competitive Spellbreak in the Element organization, and also just keep up with your favorite teams. Like Maniclass said, you might start fanboying over some of these UT players, some of these Papega Dragon, Electric Tacos. You never know. If you want to keep track with what they're doing throughout their competitive career with us, make sure you get into that Discord, do !scores. You can even get statistics on individual players, and it's a really great place to keep track of everything that's going on. But man, oh man, I'm excited for the next round, see what's going to happen with these players. I think there's a lot of interesting things that we should take note of, especially if you're a player trying to figure out how to kind of close the gap and overcome what's going on here. I think if we take note that that thirsty talent, it's kind of been a topic of discussion for the community for a while. Some people like to run recovery, some people like to run some other things, but when we look at thirsty specifically in trios, it has so much value to be able to spread that consumable, that healing out over to your teammates, and also just personally, whenever you can drop down and you can get a heal off in the blink of an eye to get back into that action, to back your squad mate up, that's not just you healing up, that's you supporting your teammate in a kind of an offhand way, but still really important. We see camps running thirsty. You see him dipping out of the fight really quickly, getting reset and back into the action. And I think that there's some talents out here that really need to be it's almost a necessity for at least 1 or 2 people on the squad. And I'm really keeping a close eye on thirsty because that value is huge in these lobbies right now.
It really is. And we're getting close to the start of game 5. 2 more games to go, both on the EU server. Untiered has lost 1 game, or at least not won 1 game. I don't know if we can really count the loss with the positioning and stuff they still got. But he's dropping straight in on to Troll, Dentist, Zebra, and Wonderful. right here in this beautifully new revamped marshland area, the Bogmore Castle, the abandoned docks, and yeah, look who's in Dustpool. It is Gigabyte, Lovell, and Joshua. And Joshua, who we haven't really focused that much on, like a few times, not that much, is running the Stone Shaper build this time around. Escapist, got that fervor, got the runic fluency, and honestly, I like that. I mean, runic fluency giving you extra mobility. I don't know if he's going to be keep running this Featherfall. It's still really early, and it might just be the best rune they found so far. But yeah, Featherfall has also been an interesting development in the community. It really didn't used to get much value, but now that certain abilities have gotten more popularity, where you can get some more height and do a proper bedrock drop with that Stone Shaper, it is a possibility to get out there and use that properly. But we'll see if Joshua will choose to go for that eventually. Has found at least one knowledge potion. Knowledge potions, of course, being also a pretty big topic in the competitive community. But for now, we're definitely still running them. And yeah, you can use them, you can abuse them a lot, honestly. And abuse is maybe not the word, but you get so much value and advantage out of them that it's really the item to pick up and consume, because you can just turn a fight by having that one extra sorcery, the two extra sorceries that you get from them.
But yeah, it really gives you the drop on your opponent too. There's really no way to know that they have that
Nope.
knowledge pod consumed at all. There's really no way to know they have those extra sorceries on hand until you just have to deal with it and it's in your face. But this is definitely a squad that we are anxious to see popping off. They really needed to come through and do some big damage and do some things here early on, and they definitely did as they dropped down. Lavelle getting a couple of exiles, Gigabyte backing it up, and it looks like Lavelle getting a little bit of trouble as he does drop very, very low. Joshua coming through and does have that Featherfall, like you said. It might be a intentional pick. It might just be an early all I could get, but it's definitely going to see Stone Shaper being one of those classes that can really make the most of it as he goes up in the air and gives us a beautiful example of what I'm talking about. Featherfall going to be able to put you in that position where you can throw down a big old meatball, aka the sorcery from the Stone Shaper. Boulder's going to come through and back Lavelle up as he is able to exile Mr. and Mrs. Dump. But it's also going to be Featherfall, very interesting movement that you get from Stone Shaper. With that bedrock skill from this class, it's going to allow you to cancel that Featherfall gravity, that low gravity movement going up and slam to the ground so quickly. And a lot of players will have a hard time anticipating that damage. And it's, as y'all know, if you've played any kind of Spellbreak, we know the rule is the floor is lava. So when you get hit by one of those shock waves from a Featherfall, it will be detrimental to your survival. So you got to be ready for that. We'll see if it is able to come through. Taco's also showing up in the kill feed as he's able to take an early squad with that team. And now Joshua looking good also in the kill feed, but now Sir Passive and Where's My Opportunity and Coach PK in this Bogmore area. Beautiful new part on the map. Really, really great elevation available here. Going to be able to get on top of these towers and keep a good eye on what's going on. And that's exactly what Sir Passive is doing. You see him play a little bit of a scout role here as he turns to the right, spot a gamer, trying to get away, throws down that nice little ping to let his teammate knows exactly what's going on. Able to throw enough damage that opponent actually flies away, and they catch this last player by himself, forces that flat rune kind of late, but it looks like that opponent is actually able to join back up with that squad. The aggression coming out from Search Passive, Where's My Opportunity, and Coach PK will be difficult to get away, but it looks like the flat runes on hand might make it a little bit easier as the Frost Lance and Lightning is not there to really punish these players for being up in the sky with no cover. But now the Storm on their back, on their heels, and they have to face these opponents that's kind of guarding the border here while the Storm's at their back. Fortunately, it's not going to be too dangerous as the tick won't be too high, but really going up this hill, being at a disadvantage where their opponents have this line of sight ridge where they can kind of stop and really punish this squad could be really dangerous. But it looks like the pressure so far is keeping them nice and safe as Sir Passive and his squad pushes on in and tries to make their way into the safe zone and wrap up this exile.
Yeah, the next exiles are coming in for some more squads here. Bush getting another one. That's nice to see that squad's still running. Of course, the console squad always has a special place in everyone's hearts, being trying to get that going. And Delicious Wet Fish is curing that exile too. But meanwhile, Sir Passive going to try and still get the exile on this one player. You see the HP, it's so low, it's barely visible on your screens anymore. And there it goes, the foster child taken out eventually by the zone, just ticked out, unfortunately. But that's definitely going to be credited towards that console squad. They have, actually, towards the squad of Sir Passive and Coach PK. Where is my passive, Coach? That's the official name of their squad right now. As UT still appears in that kill feed with those exiles that they so sorely don't need, and yeah, they're just gonna try and get to the safe zone here. Where's my passive, Coach? It's it's a good place for them. They've gotten some exiles. They're in a good spot. They're on the edge of the zone. Is where you usually want to be. They don't have to really worry about the next zone because it's basically where they are at right now. It's the same border. So that means they have some room to work with, to look around, to see where we're gonna go next. Do we see anyone coming from any other angles? And maybe get some more loot even if they want to, because a common toxic gauntlet in this stage of the game doesn't really feel nice. I think they can already see one or two other things coming up. They're going to try and get this mana vault, which might contain some good stuff. And while mana vaults are not really the prime thing to pick up in these type of games, because it does show that you're opening one, and it takes a long time to do, in which you could be doing so many other things, including actually taking fights, which usually get you more consistent, better loot. It's still a valuable source for high tier gear, which you might not have yet in certain stages of the game, which is the case, for instance, for Sir Passive, who's still running that common gauntlet. When it looks at the rest of the squad, though, they potentially have enough to win this game with. It's not a detriment. It's not like you do no damage. It's just nice to have. Sir Passive, though, has plenty of armor to work with. Have now fixed up the Epic Stone Toxic Gauntlet. They're good to go. They're ready to fight, ready to find some more opponents. And then more opponents, they kind of need to find them because they're lacking fighting right now. And when you don't do damage, you don't get exiles. That's when your score, compared to other teams, just plummets quite quickly.
Yeah, you definitely have to be aggressive. You have to be in that fight. I think balancing the staying in the storm for that loot is going to be nice. If you don't use too much consumables, if you're spending all your time in the storm, you're using your health and your armor. By the time you get to the final circle, you're really going to be hurting unless you can come in like they did and find that mana vault, find some more loot, get healed back up and ready to fight. But it looks like they're going to find some action as they do wrap around here and find a squad coming up from that crevasse down below. Looks like they're going to jump on top of this mountain and throw down a nice little firewall to keep themselves safe. So it looks like they're going to get a little bit of a flank as they turn, as Sir Passive looks to the right to see the opponent kind of wrapping around, and now that's the time to retreat. They want to get back to a better position here, try to make their way on top of this hill here, and maybe get a nice little high ground advantage where they can kind of up and create a fort. But it looks like there was an Ardu squad there with the same idea, as they do get met with a lot of resistance. Coach PK going to be taking quite a bit of damage in the form of a DF, I do believe. It looks like he's going to be on the run now. You see the Alacrity trail coming out as they do try to close the gap on the coach and take him out of the game. But Sir Passive is, hey, that's my squad mate, leave him alone. Comes from behind with a couple of slaps from the toxin. That's going to be a lot of pressure. Change the opponent direction, but it does not last, as Sir Patrick is going to get taken out by a shockwave, I believe, that's coming from Elpadog from the backside. It looks like Elpadog has his squad mates there. Kamsky and T-Foul will be there on the top side to back him up. Really nice high ground advantage. It looks like Kamsky wants to come in, try to get this exile secured, but does see some gamers from the top of the hill trying to make sure that they do not allow that to happen. Throws down a nice little toxic cloud, but it gets instantly blown up into that DF explosion that we all know and love. But it's going to be Bastion MAL that takes down a Lavelle and Elpadog that will secure that exile onto Sir Passive. Slammerog's now on with one on the Bastion, as it looks like there might be a little cheeky third party going around. But that's the name of the game at this point. 22 monsters still in this HoloLands. Bunch of squads looking for that advantage, looking for that time to kill. And if you have your back turned, they will get you. Taco's definitely finding that out as Slammerog comes through and takes him out of the game. And it looks like that's going to be the end of the game for Electric Tacos LMAO. Good showing, but could not last until the end. But I can't say. Also, the end of the game for Lavelle, Joshua, and Gigabyte. Really a great squad. Picked up early momentum in this game. Started getting early kills. Really did a great job in that last round. But did fall down here before we made our way into the top 15 players. Also, before we move on, I want to give a big shout out to Box Jellyfish, where the winner of the squad that won that last round. Great job positioning yourself on top of the mountain. See if you can do it again. Let's go.
Yeah, high ground is such an important factor in this game at a lot of moments. You already see the tracking of Slammerog stacked quite on point, teleport straight up onto his opponent. That's some knowledge pods as well, getting in there with that double firewall still. Is not able, is barely able to teleport away from that. Take the armor pods back up, has plenty of meds, so definitely wants to get a chance to use them. And Slammerog is now looking to just not get straight away bursted down to 0 HP. There is the tracking that you want to see. Copyright takes down Wonderful in that engagement. Slammerog's helping him out with that tracking. Just making sure that res will not come up at Slammerog's without regard for a lot of HP that they're missing, which is basically everything right now. are gonna just try and jump in there, and that's not what you want to see from Slamrocks. They were in such a good place, and now UT is just around here, basically taking over that position. And Slamrocks is not going to be able to get res in this situation ever again, because UT is going to be guarding that body with their lives. Probably going to get the Thirst XL on it too.
Oh wow, very interesting to see this positioning here. I really felt like the Slamrocks team there was in a great position. Copyright there on the high ground a little bit, had that little ridge to poke up and do damage while they were protected by the line of sight. But it looks like UT was able to take them out of the game. UT not in the best position, in my opinion, not in a high ground, doesn't really have tons of cover. Delicious Wetfish, I can't say the same though, as they're in a really, really great position. Already in the safe zone, has these towers to get on top of if they want. They have all these structures to get cover behind if they need, but they got to be very careful, as UT might not have been in the best position, but they were in a great position to sneakily come in and wrap around and take this squad by surprise. And I think we see that happening as we see Velosa kind of get engulfed by a big toxic tornado up on top. We see Delicious Whipfish bringing out that frost to try to give him a little backup as he does take aim to the top, but it's not going to be quick enough as Velosa does fall pretty quickly. Dash coming out, trying to get a reposition. Delicious Whipfish trying to get out of the chaos that is now surrounding him. Throws out the nice little frost lance as the dash does give him a nice look on the opponents, but it looks like he cannot get it off in time as the aggression is just too much. Butter Freestyle jumps up and does the dirty deed as Delicious Whipfish does fall to that nice fireball. Now Butter Freestyle jumping down, finds a little bit of cover under this wall. Got to be very, very careful, but it looks like Woebegone Wizard is nice and healthy and ready to back him up as Butter Freestyle takes a second to breathe underneath the bridge, but does not stay there for long as he knows that it is not a safe place to be. Flight coming out, and this is one of the OG strats that we used to see a lot of newer players do, using that flight room to go up, up, and away. And honestly, sometimes it's not great, but in a situation like this, if you can get yourself out of the spotlight and out of that attention grabbing place, Butter, it's going to put you in a position where you can deal some easy damage. And it looks like Butter Freestyle is definitely coming through to try to make that happen. Uses that flat room to go directly into that player, throws out a nice fireball, takes him out of the game, but in the end gets blown up by a shockwave. And who was that just took the dub? Was that UT again?
UT, yeah, no, 100% UT, and that was the problem, right? It's like they were already missing one player with had gone down, so it was a 2v3, and it's not just a 2v3, but it's a 2v3 versus UT, and that is where everything goes wrong. And that kind of brings us back to earlier, before those final fights started, where you said, yeah, I kind of feel like Slamrocks and his squad were in a pretty good position. They were on that high ground ridge, and then it kind of gave up that positioning and went after a kill that they may have not have gone on a half HP and half shields, and then UT's waiting for them there when they're off the high ground. Like, those are plays I've seen them made before. I've ranted about them before on stream, actually, that you need to not make. You need to not on your own go after an exile like that in such a late game when you have such a high ground position and when you still need to get some healing done. There's no reason to do it, because even if you get that exile, it barely gets you enough extra points to warrant it. So we'll see if that is going to change in the future, if they learn from that. But in this case, I don't think it was worth it. I don't think it was the time or the place for it, and it just gives UT another win right there. Team that has been under the radar doing quite well. I mean, they won not the last game, the game before, is Bucks Jellyfish. They've definitely started stepping up their game, especially on the EU server. Now, they've been doing bad on NA, just started doing even a little bit better than that. So they're currently in a qualifying position for sure, I think, as soon as the scores are going to be tallied. But it's still going to be a close one. Like, these numbers, 2, 3, 4, and 5 keep shifting as to who has them. So we'll see after the next game, when the scores are tallied, who is actually going to be qualifying for this, because it's super close. There's a few teams that are pretty much out of the running, but a lot of them that are still very much in it. So we'll see where this will end up, where this will conclude here tonight, as we've got quite a few new supporters in the chat tonight. We love all the messages, the subs, the supports. We really do. It makes us also more exciting to keep doing these things, because as much as we like to talk about this game, Timmy, it's always better when you know there's someone actually listening to you, right?
Oh yeah, To see that hype, to see that energy, to see people passionate about what you're passionate about, and just to feel that camaraderie, that community is something important. And I think it's something special that we have in Spellbreak and an Element. And if you guys want to make sure that you're part of that community, exclamation point Discord will give you a link to our Discord server. It's where you can find all the wonderful people that not only play in these tournaments, but also the people that run the tournament. Shout out to our production boys behind the scenes, always making sure that runs beautifully, seamlessly, and I think that it's a better experience because of what they do. So shout out y'all for your incredible work. But also, I gotta say, when we talk about UT and we talk about what they're doing in this qualifier, and we talk about the aggression that's kind of needed to come through and counter what they're doing, it really makes me think about how they're great. It's such smart aggression. Like you said, there are times when you're on the high ground and you see these kills that you want to go get, but they're just not a smart move to do. Even though aggression needs to be there, you need to play it smart. And we see that happening over and over again with UT. They don't push when they don't need to. They know how to wait it out. They know what patience is there, and they know that it's a virtue when it's used correctly. We see that happening earlier. I think it was round 3, and UT was kind of split a little bit. Kamsky got a little bit on his own, and he looks up to see a full squad above him on a tower. And I see him, potentially take a frost shot, could have pushed that tower. Maybe he could have 1v3'd. It's Kamsky. But instead, he pumped the brakes. He stopped for a second. He breathed in that house that he was in, and allowed for UT to catch up. And then they took a second later and they took that squad out. And he was there. He was with his teammate. He didn't put his teammate in a position where they had to come and save him or anything. And I think that's what's important. You want to be aggressive. You want to get these points. You want to get these exiles. You want to get the dub, but don't do it in a dumb way, for lack of a better word. Talk to your squad,
Yeah,
use your
sure.
comms, and play smart.
I think that also sums up UT's playstyle perfectly. It's like it's not necessarily aggression; it is all about being opportunistic for them. Like their entire macro game is built around being in the right place at the right time. They're so often have squads running into them rather than the other way around. They so often circle gatekeep teams from getting into the safe zone. They so often like even that one exile where you say Slamrocks kind of gives up their position on the high ground there. UT just happens to be there, and that's all part of their general rotation, their general strategy. They see where fights are going on and say, okay, they're fighting over there right now. So if we go over there, we catch the ones that are going to wait and run away to the safe zone after. Like that's really what sums it up best, their rotations. And we're going to see more of that in this last game, I'm pretty sure, because this is the last game we're doing, Game 6, EU server. After 5 other games, we're going to see who's going to qualify for the grand finals event next week, and the scores are ridiculously close when you're looking on the score sheet. Make sure to type in exclamation spark scores in the Element Spellbreak Discord in order to actually see how close they are, because it is I could read them out, but especially place 4 and 5 are heavily contested at this stage. There's still quite a few teams that can make a run at that, depending on who gets exiled when. And going on to this game number 6, we can already see plenty of these exiles going on. Gigabyte gets that first one. Adamap gets another one. That is that's a good start. Get some aggression in there, get some activity in there, and Slammerox and Copyright definitely want to abide by that. They know that they need these points. They know they can still qualify, and they're trying to make it happen by any means necessary.
Yeah, it's a great job to see these squads come through and really commit to that. And it's a good point that you make. This is not just about the first place. It's not just about second place. It's the top 5 who qualify. They get to go into the tournament in a week and into those finals and really show up and really compete for that big prize. So make sure you come through, no matter what your place at, and just try to perform your best, because who knows, if you get one of those top 5 spots, that's what you're trying to play for in this particular qualifier. So come through and still push all the way to the end. This is our last round. Show us what you got. And we see some of these players definitely doing just that, as Gigabyte, Copyright, and Slammerox taking some early exiles. Going to be exactly what you need to do to not only get that damage score up, but also get the loot, get that nice little bit of momentum going, and make your way into these next circles a little bit at an advantage with your gear, hopefully, if it's worth your trouble. 34 players remain, and it looks like Tacos, I'm sorry, it's going to be Tacos LMAO, or what was the team name again? Let's see. Electric Tacos LMAO going on in to find themselves face to face with some monsters here close to the Halcyon area. Nice flight room from Tacos as he is able to get really close to his opponent, throw down some nice toxic slaps, but does not put himself down in that ridge, knowing very well that it's going to be very easy to get collapsed on, and that's exactly what he does. Throws that flight rune up, gets back on top of the high ground, and puts himself in a safe position to deal out that last little bit of damage. Bastion LMEO getting one onto Neil, and it looks like Lavelle is coming through as well to take out Copyright. Das Jeebus fall into Tacos, and it looks like the Electric Tacos LMAO might be stepping up. I've been really anxious to see the squad perform and do their thing, and it looks like they're doing their thing right now as they find themselves into 24. Lavelle popping off in that feed, though, man, of class. Lavelle is in it to win it. I can see the bloodlust in his eyes. He's in it, and I cannot wait to see what happens at the end of this round.
Yeah, I definitely cannot wait to see it either. You have to see what that eventually means for their scores and their positioning and everything. But for now, they're definitely popping. They're starting to get a really good game going. Lavelle especially has been popping all night long. No reason to suspect anything else than a qualification almost, for just because of those exiles from level alone. We'll see Voosh in the kill feed starting to get a kill onto the SYG squad. They're going to be there. Stand your ground is what that stands for anybody who was wondering. Delicious Wetfish gets the next one, and stand their ground they might, but that doesn't mean they're going to be winning a fight over here. Only Lozo alive, and that's not going to be a good one. Lozo under a lot of pressure here. 1, 2, and down to the toxic slap from SYG Kojin. Actually, it was the shockwave coming out from Takeo Cookies. And yeah, that console squad still in the running for things, still in a place where they can qualify, and I'm super curious to see where they're going to bring us next. I like this setup with the toxicologist though. Like, we've seen plenty of teams do this before, but I just like the fact that you can have that. It's almost an extra CC that you get with the stock sprays on the ground, as well as with the clouds that can be very in the way. It's just a nice combination of things that gives you a lot of room to work with, and also gives you the extra surprise angle with that Vanishing Mist.
I think it's a great class to have on any squad. It really feels well that not a lot of other classes can do. And like you said, if they're able to use that toxicologist spray on the ground, it's not only damage, it's area of denial, and it can be combined with fire to do an insane amount of damage. So I would really love to see maybe even a backline toxicologist that just specializes covering the area in toxic slaps and puddles, and then just, blows it up when they need to. But we'll see what happens with that playstyle, see if it's viable at all. But, if anybody's going to come through and show us that what's viable, it's going to be this squad right here. UT doing it all night long, has 4 or 5 great rounds already, but does not care at all. They're having fun, like I said earlier, and they're going in for some more action. But it looks like they're going to find it big time as Gigglebite connects on to Kamsky. Kamsky will fall, and it looks like this squad actually, has a really good advantage. They're on top of the hill. We see some fireballs coming from the top of the ridge. Does get a little bit of pressure as Joshua has to reposition a little bit. Those on that spring step to do just that. But looks like the squad of the player UT Kamsky will get a little bit out of sight and now out of the game as Joshua comes down to take him out a little bit early. Only 2 people remaining on that UT squad, and it looks like the pressure is coming through Pega Dragon from on top of this mountain as the firewalls do come down pretty handily. Joshua now finds himself maybe a little bit lag. I'm not sure exactly what happened. He's going to walk into the mountain there for a second. Looks like his teammate jumps down to throw down a flash freeze, potentially keep him safe. But it looks like he's definitely having some connection issues as he kind of just moonwalks in place for a little bit and takes some fireballs to the toes for his trouble. Looks like he might be back on track now. Spring step coming in as he's able to get back down to the ridge of this mountain and heal up pretty quickly there. Escapist on hand will give him some speed, help him get right back into the action as this squad looks still pretty healthy and ready to fight. And it looks like they're going to have to man a class as action is coming from all angles.
Action is flying all over the place as we see the Chrono actually come out there from one of the players. That is a Vital Stone as well from Root of Freestyle. It's going all over the place right now as Joshua is trying to get a new angle on something with that boulder fall, the shockwave bat rock, to try and get back to the ground quickly and heal up behind the ridge. We do see the Chrono actually popping all over the place here. I like to see this Chrono rune do a little bit more, but right now all we can do is really watch the rest of this fight play out as Joshua does a shockwave boulder fall combo, goes for Lavelle to just pick his teammate back up, and that will be a 3-man squad once again as Gigabyte takes down the Foster Child, the and the Bow Begone Wizard. I think that's only Buddha Freestyle left, the Vital Stone King, the Vital Stone Master. So you're going to be able to get anything? No. Gigabyte takes down 3 single-handedly. No worries about anything right there. They're going to get that last exile onto 1 or 2 of the other players. Joshua goes for that as well, and that means they'll only have 1 left, which I think will be, yeah, that's at least a Foster Child that's still lingering somewhere. We'll see if we can find them later on, but for now, they at least got those 2 exiles on the board.
What we want to see from Pega Dragon if they're going to come through and have a chance of turning this around and maybe even take first. I'm not sure if they have a chance of it, but really doing a great job. They're alive, they're surviving, they're making their way into potentially getting this dub, and they're also putting a lot of damage and exiles out there. But it looks like Lavelle getting a little bit too close for comfort as he does get met with some fireballs to the face that will turn him into a ball of magical orbness. That's right, orbness, I said it, going down. But looks like his teammate's going to be coming through, try to bring him back to life. Joshua jumping down to be a hero as Gigabyte on the outside perimeter is probably going to be putting down a little bit of cover fire, hopefully putting a little bit of pressure, give them the distraction that they need to be able to get back into this fight. And that's exactly what we see happening as Gigabyte takes out the Foster Child in the kill feed with, what do you know, surprise, Lightning's going to be the one that does it. And now Lavelle on top of this wall, going to be able to jump around, keep his eyes on track, and we see that thirsty talent coming in big time, all the way educated, fully upgraded to level 3, and you see him just come from orb to full health and full armor in just a quick manner, and he's right back into action, right ready to back his squad mates up. And that's going to be a lot of value coming from that talent, especially at this small circle. You will start consuming more consumables like health and armor potions, but if you're able to keep stocked up on it, that ability to change your health and armor, get it back that quickly at this final confrontation will be a game changer for sure. So Lavelle, down to that last little bit of HP that he has on board, definitely see him looking around for some more armor. If he's able to find it, it could be a big build. But right now, he's looking a little bit low.
As we go over to the Electric Tacos LMAO squad, they've been doing pretty well so far. We're still gonna have to find out what they will do in their score in the end. But for now, they are at least getting some exiles on the board and some damage out. 15 players in the lobby. That's 5 squads to go for still. One of them is UT. One of them is the Electric Tacos LMAO squad. And then we have 3 others to work with, of course, as we just seen. It's, yeah, it's going to be an exciting one. The circle's actually getting relatively small already with for 5 teams in it, but this that's why these engagements are just happening straight away. A lot of Toxic Cloud. Talco's taking a lot of damage from those, but just doesn't want to stop and focusing down this one target. Will probably get this exile, but it's going super low himself. That's the disrupt at least. The rest of his team is trying to capitalize on that opening of the numbers advantage, but it's still a 2v2 over there as Talcos is trying to go for this exile. Gets taken out by the fireball, almost loses most of their health. But Talcos has to now run away from this and doesn't manage to do so. The Dragon Fire completely explodes them. No vanishing mist for you. And that's going to be a resurrect coming up here. So Talcos gets completely turned around in that situation and will not be able to rejoin this fight because he's going to get thirsted on. Electric Biscuit, Talcos, and Bastion LMAO all taken out as a matter of fact. And that's 12. Only 4 squads left. Gigabyte, Joshua, and Lovell, as we've come to know them, are just hopping around this map right now. They're really doing well this round. They've been doing well all night. They're definitely qualifying at this rate. And they're just having a victory round, I'd say. But let's see who they run into. Let's see who they can take out more. Maybe they can actually win around it from this one. As we see another exile come out here. It's a disruption. No, there's an exile on the Coach BK. So passive, where's my passive coach? Already really numbered down in this last 4-team situation.
Really great work coming out here from Lavelle and Joshua and Gigabyte. They like you said, they've really been performing well all night, and I think this might be their round to take. As Kamsky does fall earlier, it looks like UT's not going to be as strong. But even if UT was fully powered up right now, the teamwork and the damage coming out from this squad looks very dominating. Every single time they find themselves face to face with another squad, they're able to work very well to position themselves in a great place to be able to deal out some great damage safely. But as I say that, it looks like they might have found themselves a little bit pinched between a squad down below and a squad up above. Gigglebite able to stay pretty healthy, but the squad mates cannot say the same, as they do lose all that armor. Still on the low ground as the squad uses this ridge here to try to be able to deal out some easy damage safely. But it looks like Gigglebite and the squad might be able to wrap around as the storm pushes in and might be able to take advantage of this little bit of a small circle. Joshua definitely doing just that as Bush and Delicious Wetfish goes down. Now being able to use this ridge, but not being able to stay on top of the mountain for long, as there is no place to run, no place to hide, except for maybe behind these rocks, but it's not going to get you much of a place of sanctuary, as there is a very, very small circle. 8 players remain, and Gigglebite, Lavelle, and Joshua all healthy, not with full armor, but looking pretty good in the armor department, especially at this point in the game. Help a dog with an exile onto Where's My Virginity, and now Lavelle taking one on the Troll Dennis with a fireball. Gigglebite takes a look to the right to find a gamer close by, behind this little bit of a rock here, throws down all the sorceries that he has in hand, trying to use that lightning, trying to use that tornado to bring that opponent in and get that big damage. Now overhead as he spots this gamer trying to run for their life, and it looks like this might be the game that goes to Lavelle, Gigglebite, and Joshua. Like we said, great teamwork, all 3 players looking exactly the same way as this Tempest tries to run for their life, and it's not going to happen as the game is over. And yes, indeed, Mana Class called it. That is going to be the one that goes to Pega Dragon. Really, really great teamwork. Lavelle, we saw him coming through and just consistently improving over the night. Every round got better and better and better. And there we just see the teamwork back it up, where they all just came together and took the dub. Shout out to that squad for really coming through and doing a great job on the final round, finishing strong, Mana Class.
Finishing strong for sure. And now all there is left to do is tally up those scores. We're gonna see what the Marla bot in the Element Discord gives us as the top 5 after we get the confirmed from our producer that it's actually all filled in correctly. Gonna of course do the double checks, make sure that nothing's going wrong, that exiles are getting counted correctly for all the squads. But we'll get back to you on that soon. But looking at these games that we've had, Timmy, there's of course the one big outstanding thing where, yeah, Untier just won. Period. There's nothing that can debate that. They were by far the best team. They won 4 out of 6 games, which basically means the games they didn't win they can just ignore on their score sheet because, like, oh, that's the ones we didn't win. But maybe they got higher points in those sometimes. It's also possible. We'll see. That being said, though, there were some really good other squads coming out. Pepega Dragon Paw Cannon especially did very well. We saw Box Jellyfish at some point having a very good run, where my passive coach, Shay's Belays, Scrub Breakers, there's a lot of points coming out from a lot of these different teams. And especially on the lower end of that top 5, there might have been a lot of shifting around between games. So it's really a question mark who's going to qualify still. I think the numbers 1, 2, and maybe even 3 were fairly cemented at some stage, but 4 and 5, much more up for discussion.
And it's very exciting to see some of these newer names, newer squads come through and perform well.
Yeah.
Even some of our console players come through on the other platforms and really performing well and putting on a good show for us. So shout out to everybody, all the players that came out to be part of the qualifiers. I'm excited to see what you guys do in the finals, and good luck for making the top 5. But I also have to say a big shout out to Tacos. I saw him there. He went down there in that last round. The little bit of time that we got to watch, he was so committed to the exile. He went in, he took on a 1v2 and did a great job. And honestly, I think all 3 players on Electric Tacos LMAO are just great players in their own right. I think the more time they have to play as a squad, we'll see that squad start to go up and up and up if they intend on playing more. But definitely some great play coming out from Tacos. Shout out to you for that good play and that commitment to getting that exile. But also Butter Freestyle. Butter Freestyle was the Stone Shaper with the crazy talent build that nobody really expected. I think it was Vital Stone, Spell Slinger, and Fortitude. And, I was kind of like chuckling to myself a little bit, thinking about how could that be valuable. But, Butter Freestyle directly after that started performing better, started making it farther along in the rounds. And even if he didn't land on that particular talent build, I got to say I'm impressed with his tenacity to go ahead and try something different, try to come up with some kind of counter, try to figure out a way to get that advantage. And we see that kind of dedication really paying off big time from Butter Freestyle. And honestly, shout out to Box Jellyfish for coming through and winning that. I think it was round 6, but really great job. And we'll see what happens as the scores are tallied up. I do think that the first place is definitely going to be all the way secured already. But definitely we're
Sure.
looking for the top 5, and that's what matters. So we're getting ready to see the score shortly as our production team wraps it up. But man, oh man, I'm excited to see what happens with the finals, man of class. What do you have anything that you expect to see coming out from the finals that we might not have seen in the finals? I mean in the qualifiers. I know we have G3 and looks like we potentially have UT. Going to have some big squads coming through, and they might be creative with some strategies.
No, for sure, and it's always going to be a question mark of what we're going to see in the finals next week. I mean, this is all about qualifiers. Maybe Untiered has another gear or another tier that haven't even seen them play on, because this was qualifiers, so it didn't matter that much. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're just going to be still playing as aggressively and as effectively as they have over here. But yeah, I mean, we might see some of these dark horses come out a little bit higher in the results later on. Of course, we had another qualifier, so the top 5 of both are going to meet. There might actually be a lot of value coming out from that. Looking at the top 5 shaken out right now, though, Untiered definitely on number 1. I think that's what we know. Babica Dragon Paw Cannon were fairly convincingly number 2 as well. Under that, though, it gets a little bit more complicated. So we'll see the final scores be tallied very soon. Like, we have an idea of who's the top 5 right now. Just need to get the numbers. That's all. I will say, though, there was a over 1,000-point gap after the first half that has been closed a little bit. Not fully, but it's gone down to roughly 800 points. So still a little bit of benefit of not playing on the NA servers. That's definitely something that can be said. On the second place, because we're getting the scores in, Timmy, Pepega Dragon Paw Cannon, 1,844 points. Then we get Kopfnuss with 1,000 points on number 3. Where is my passive coach on number 4? And on number 5, Shays Belays with 903 points. And if you look at the difference between those, especially those numbers 4 and 5, that's like 30 points. There's barely anything between them. It is insane how close those were. And that also means that the teams below them were very likely super close by that as well, because these are not unreachable scores in 4 games. I'm honestly impressed with like how close those teams until like the third place were. I think we're going to see more of that in the grand finals. We're going to have a very exciting series on our hands, very exciting 6 games, but it's still a question mark, of course, whether Untiered is not just going to run away with the whole thing like they did tonight.
I think that you made a really good point early on in the qualifiers that Untiered comes through, and yeah, they may have rode this qualifier. They may have really just put on a show and kind of seem untouchable. But for a lot of players, that's fuel, that's inspiration to see what can be done when you have the experience and you have the skills and you put the time in to make it work. And hopefully, we see some of these players that made the 3rd, 4th, 5th place be able to take this placement, take this qualifier, see what UT did, and come back fresh in a week for our finals and really step up their game and show up and say, we learned a lot, and we're going to show you guys exactly. guys had a chance to hang out in the last qualifier, we had some similar statistic numbers. I think G3 really popped up and did a great amount of damage and exiles in there too. So we're going to have some really big Titans button head in our finals in 1 week. But if you didn't get a chance to watch the qualifiers live, check out the YouTube for Element. They have those highlights for the scrims. They have the qualifiers up there. It's great to watch on your own time. And honestly, if you're a player, you're trying to learn, you get to watch some of these players that have been playing a while. You get to see what they're doing, and you can take out your notepad and figure out what's going on. And it's a great way to watch and learn, and also join up in that Discord. !Discord will give you all the information and access to the community that you need. Oof.
There's a long line of things to promote. And of course, what we also cannot forget is that tomorrow, Element will be back with the solos qualifiers. We had one last week. Tomorrow we're going to have another one just to make sure that we have enough players to actually fill a finals lobbies next week. So don't miss that one. Same starting time will be 6 p.m. ET, which is midnight for our EU folks, including me. So definitely come and enjoy that as well. See different epic plays, but still a lot of epic plays happen because, of course, it's a very different game. You play it alone versus playing it with a squad. But yeah, we'll see you guys then. See you guys tomorrow. We hope you enjoyed it. Definitely show your support, show your love in the chat and everything. And we hope to see you soon.